You know, here.
What's up?
I was thinking about something.
What are you thinking about, bro?
I was thinking about what's going on in the earth, right?
What's happening in our minds?
Yeah, and I wondered, why does it matter?
We're about to find out.
Holy shit. Ready?
Just kidding.
Welcome to Earth, Mind, and Matter. We said, fuck it, let's talk about albums. We said, let's talk about some movies and some fucking comics. This week in the universe, across the internet.
So what's up, Javi?
What's going on, Frankie? So,
What's up?
I've had this like day age question that I've had for a while now.
Day aged?
You know what I'm saying?
Like a day,
like day old.
Okay.
Like age old question.
Age old question.
That I've had since like middle school.
Damn, I didn't expect that.
It's like a what if question. I usually only ask guys and stuff and whatever. But I'm gonna ask you.
All right.
And most of our audience is male, according to Spotify.
Yeah.
So my question is, my what if is, if your mom and your girlfriend's bodies, mind and bodies switch places like a Freaky Friday situation.
Okay.
And the only way to get them to revert back was to have sex with one of them. Who would you have sex with?
Damn, that's a crazy question. So either way, you'd be fucking your mom, either physically or mentally.
Yes.
Oh my God, I might just kill myself. There's no way around. Who has anybody ever been like my mom? Like my mom's body?
Brian.
He said he would fuck his mom's body with the girlfriend's mind.
Yeah.
Hey, Brian, you're fucking gross. You fucking Sigmund Freud's dream over. Nah, bro, I decline. Just save them both. They die if not.
Well, they won't ever switch back.
I let them be. I'll let them be like that.
Yeah.
My mom's younger. My girlfriend's older. Lessons learned. Nothing's happened to me. That's I'm not fucking nobody. So I can just be traumatized out my mind.
I'm just imagining like some fucking like super villain menacingly rolling his fingers together, and he tells you this, and you're like, nope, I'm cool.
Sucks for you, but
that's all right.
You just fuck with anybody except
all right, I'm gonna head out now.
He's like, you sure? Like, yeah, I'm not doing that.
I'm not doing it. I'm just not.
You don't want to think about it a little bit?
Nope. I'm good.
I've almost thought about it, and even that I declined to do.
The fact that I stood here this long is enough.
So let us know, people. DM us. Would you fuck your mother's body with your girlfriend's mind, or your girlfriend's body with your mother's mind? It's just weird, you know?
I've always had that question. I feel like it's a pretty good question.
That's a great question.
It's a really like intense question.
Okay.
It brings a lot to the table, I think, and it's just people need to really think about it.
All right. Since the A.M.C section kind of like definitely revolves on this, if you had to switch bodies with your father, right? And the only way you could how can I say, go back to the shot's body is you have to jerk yourself off. Would you do it to save your father's life? In your own life. Like, you both have to do it, looking at each other.
Looking at each other? What the fuck?
That's just part of it.
Okay, like, it would have been one thing if it's like, you just gotta jerk off.
Which is still pretty fucking ridiculous, right?
Like, it's just like, because at that point, it's like, I'll just close my eyes. I won't look. I'll just like pretend it's not happening. Get it over with. Right. But like the fact that you're telling me that I gotta look at myself, who's my dad.
Mm-hmm. And like, you gotta be standing like, there's no distance. Your toes gotta be touching each other.
Oh,
as you stare at each other.
God.
That's what God said.
No, God said, "Oh, dear me."
Oh, dear me. Oh. So would you do it?
Oh man,
I'm probably still killing myself.
Sorry, pops.
Facts, bro. Nobody wants to partake in these fucking schematics. It's crazy.
No, that's what we talk about on this show.
The most important show on earth.
But what is this show?
Oh man, this show is no, I'm kidding. It's we're talking about what's happening on the earth,
in our minds,
and why it matters.
This is Earth, Mind, and Matter.
I'm Frankie.
I'm Javi.
That's Link over there. Javi's dog. He's just chilling.
Just chilling
right next
off
to the
camera.
internet. What a dog.
What a doge.
Facts.
I would just say, what a fucking guy.
That is.
What a fucking guy.
Happy 4th of July.
Happy 4th of July, my guy.
Fucking salute to you. I saluted earlier. God bless America, my home.
Nah, I'm not doing it.
It's weird that they made us say the Pledge of Allegiance in class when we were younger, right?
Oh, yeah. Super weird. I think about that like all the time.
I pledge allegiance to the flag. It's like, what the fuck?
I've wanted to ask like my little cousin if they still do that
Probably
in school.
Not. Probably. I think because, I mean, I don't know. I don't think it's necessarily like the worst thing in the world, to be familiar with your national anthem. Because imagine you just go to like a sporting event and they're doing national anthem, and like you're like, what the fuck is this weird salute?
Is this a ritual?
Yeah, this motherfucker Nazi. But I don't know. I mean, it's a weird thing. I don't know. I guess people just consider it weird because it's cultish, right? To have a whole classroom of kids just recite this thing towards a flag.
I definitely think it's because of like the kid aspect of it. It's just like, a young innocent mind. Like, it's just like almost being brainwashed and doing this and that, whatever.
Unless that mind is middle school Javi asking people if they'll fuck them.
Yeah, you know what else I used to do in middle school? That got me in trouble at some point. It was pretty bad, but I learned on the internet how to make crossbows out of pens. And
with the rubber band.
Yeah. Okay. And I showed all my friends how to do it. And
look.
And so, there was an instance where my friend shot an arrow into a computer in the computer lab, and it went straight through the front of it.
The computer?
Yeah, it went straight through the front of the
computer. Was that shit made out of paper?
and just went inside the PC, and it just hit a fan, and you just hear and we were all like, oh,
here's boom. Everybody dead.
So we got in trouble for that, and they were like, who the fuck is doing this? And everyone was like, it was Javi. He showed us how to make this shit and this and that.
These weapons of mass destruction.
Like, man. So, but yeah, I used to do a lot of dumb shit back in middle school.
It's crazy, bro. I used to do some dumb shit, but I just can't remember. No, I really can't remember.
He winked, folks. He winked, audio listeners.
I did. I wanted to share a couple of things before we started. I know, like, we only got so much time, but I have like this whole list of things. No, I'm just kidding.
Okay.
I have 2 thoughts, right?
Okay.
3, actually, 3. The first one I thought was like, you think when people read Braille, the word for boobs is just 2 bumps?
I mean, like,
like, ding, ding.
I mean, isn't it a thing where it's like their tits could, or like their nipples can be like offset, or like maybe be like innies or outies? So it's like, what if it's like 1 bump and then no bump?
Oh, I mean, I don't. That's breast cancer. You know, I don't know if they remove both boobs for breast cancer or not. Not that it's a joke or anything. Maybe. What if they put maybe they put boobs disfigured, or like, not as normal or something like that. Shout out to all the tits. Boobies and all the non-tits,
Yeah.
Like, you were like, yeah. Or maybe if it was like a bump with a little bump in the middle, and then another bump with a little bump in the middle.
Or it was 3 bumps, so that way it's like a triple tit from like a
Futurama?
that alien in that one movie. Minor Threat? No, not Minor Threat.
I know Leela had 3 boobs at one point in Futurama.
I think I remember that, but there's definitely a classic sci-fi movie where there's an alien with 3 tits.
Were they green?
I think so.
You gotta look it up.
Supplementary.
This is a perfect tone for the show, though. For the A.M.C section. My second thought was, okay, all right, if a truly evil person, and let's just say Bin Laden in modern time today, but he did some crazy shit in modern time, right? You think, okay, so let's say they set up a fundraiser, right? Bin Laden.
Okay.
Today's Bin Laden. And they said, let's raise $1 billion. And if I raise $1 billion, I will donate it all to charity, or like world hunger, or end world hunger, right? Whatever it takes to end world hunger. And then I'll kill myself on either national TV or in general. A lot of suicide talk I'm talking about, but you get what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
So like, I'm not gonna say Bezos because the greatest man on earth, but I'm saying more like somebody like Kim Jong-un today. He's like, you know what? I'm an asshole and you guys don't like me. And I'm a threat to the world. So I'll kill myself if you raise enough money to end world hunger. What do you think would happen? Do you think he'll raise it, and would that make him a good person? Not undo his actions, but like redeem himself.
No, I don't think it's enough to redeem.
But would it happen though? Like, would people raise the money?
I don't think so.
No,
I really don't think so.
I think people would.
I think the world is a little too cynical for that, and like also I think people would possibly think that there's maybe some bigger plot behind this, like some big conspiracy and shit like that.
Like he'll just use the money for himself.
Yeah, or some shit like that. So it's like I feel like there'd be enough things to push people to not want to do it.
Yeah.
And I'm just kind of, I kind of think people wouldn't do it in general.
I think they would 100% do it. I think it would happen so fast. I think I see so many polls and like GoFundMe's, like, and they're not saying some GoFundMe's are more important than the others, but they are, you know. And I'm talking family members or like pets. I'm talking about like, you know, when they set up GoFundMe's for jokes and then it raises like $3 million and GoFundMe has to stop it. I just think people would definitely just contribute as much money as possible and then watch it. If I'm not mistaken, with Saddam Hussein, they hung him on national television. Like,
I don't remember.
Yeah, they. I'm pretty sure what happened with the U.S. I might be wrong with the U.S. turning him over to his country, but they 100% him or somebody else. But I'm pretty sure Saddam Hussein. But they hung him on national television, and he was pronounced dead at that point.
And
so
like,
I wonder
over there in the Middle East.
Over there in the Middle East, you know, and so. I think with that and just I think today people are cynical like crazy. I think people are more cynical than ever, just more discreetly, especially in the U.S. I think so. So yeah, that's the two thoughts I had. And then and it's July 4th, you know, MAGA. And it's a tense time for it to be July 4th, but then again, when isn't it?
Yeah.
Right? America always sucks and it's great. What did the guy say on the song?
Getting drunk and throwing shit at people
and eating bacon. It's fucking America.
I want to make out with the Statue of Liberty, and I can do that because it's America, baby.
But it's 2022, so if you don't get your consent, we're canceling your ass, even if it's a statue. So I just wanted to go past July 4th because I saw an article, and the first thing, like, I wanted to like say something historical. It is historical, but then I looked up what's very 2022 about this. What I'm about to say, shitting on a holiday, right? So let's shit on July 4th. So I just want to go through this real quick. It seems like it's long, but it's not. The first thing is that what we all know, or what we pretend to know, is that July 4th commemorates the passage of the Declaration of Independence, right, by the Continental Congress on July 4th. 1776, and this happened in Philadelphia.
Philly,
woo, go Phillies, woo. And long story short, Thomas Jefferson, doing all this, the GOAT. Well, no, I don't know about that.
I love how you just like piggybacked on that.
Yeah, it just kind of went house. Oh, okay. So he wanted to get rid of slavery in the Declaration of Independence, right? He wanted to be like, nah. But he kept it in because the South, and he wanted to keep everything unified and shit, right? So in a way, it's like, oh, he's a pretty good guy. Like, he wanted to get rid of it, but he instead chose to this and that. But then they quoted what he said in it, and this is the longest thing I'll say. But he said, quote, deep-rooted prejudices, you know what I mean, entertained by the whites, 10,000 recollections by the blacks of the injuries they have sustained, new provocations. The real distinctions which nature has made will divide us into parties and produce convulsions which will probably never end, but in the extermination of the one or the other race. And now he said, to these objections which are political may be added to others, which are physical and moral. Now he says, the first difference which strikes us is that of color. They have less hair on the face and body. They secrete less by the kidneys and more by the glands of the skin, which gives them a very strong and disagreeable odor. Talking about black people. This greater degree of transpiration renders them more tolerant of heat and less so of cold than of whites. Comparing them by their faculties of memory, reason, and imagination, it appears to me that in memory they are equal to the whites, in reason much inferior, as I think one could scarcely be found capable of tracing and comprehending the investigations of Euclid, and that in imaginations they are dull, tasteless, and anomalous. Very well spoken. A little dickhead of him to be saying all that, you know. And this is a little quote from a book. Carl Hart's drug use for adults. Thomas Jefferson, he quotes him, and Carl Hart is a black man. It's important that I bring that up because Thomas Jefferson says, quote, if people let the government decide which foods they eat and medicines they take, their bodies will soon be as sorry a state as are the souls of those who live under tyranny. Right?
Okay.
And I just like that. And the reason I brought that quote up is because Carl Hart eventually says, like, like I'm quoting a guy who had slaves himself and this and that and was pretty much, racist and sexist in terms of now. But because it's America, I kind of want to
Wasn't he also, Thomas Jefferson, kind of like a whore?
Probably. He also partook in a lot of drugs. Yeah, okay. Like he was an avid opium user.
Damn.
Isn't that crazy? Shout out to drugs.
Opioid crisis, my ass.
That ass, bro. And so the reason I wanted to bring that up, because this is America, and like as a black man quoting, this white supremacist, how people label everybody in the past and this and that. I mean, to each his own. But what Carl Hart says about Thomas Jefferson is this, quote, I recognize that Thomas Jefferson and other revered historical figures enslaved black people. This was reprehensible even during their time. But the cruel hypocrisy of these individuals' actions does not negate the noble ideas and vision articulated in their writings. These enshrined principles give us goals to which we continue to aspire. So I like that. I like that he addresses the whole concept of, this person owned slave and this and this and this and that. And even though those things were terrible, that their mindsets and what ideas they brought forward continue to impact us today. And we can use those ideologies to put within ourselves,
Yeah, it's I've kind of heard something similar just before. We're kind of thinking about people that have done wrong in their past that aren't necessarily like, you can't like are labeled not as good people, but you can still take the good from that. And so even bad people do good things. Yeah,
or like have done good things or have great ideas or invented good things. I mean, it's very interesting, man. We were talking about this when we were playing pool, me, Brian, and Anthony. But I heard this on our podcast. Joe Rogan, what's up? But apparently, Hugo Boss was a big manufacturer of Nazi uniforms.
I think I knew that.
Yeah,
actually.
and apparently maybe this is correct. Brian was saying that the Adidas helped make the shoes, and that a lot of people have traces of what's it called? Their involvement in the Nazi uniforms. And I don't know if we spoke grandly about reparations and stuff, but they made a good point. They were saying that, and I agree with this because I think reparations is an issue we need to discuss before we initiate. But obviously I think it's a good thing to have happened. But those who definitely should provide reparations are the companies that still exist today in America that profited off slavery and the mistreatment of black people and this and that. Like that should be 100% a thing that is not happening today. I don't know why I'm thinking Q-Tips. That's probably not a company. But I mean, it is a company, but it's probably not a company.
Free Q-Tips for life.
All black people. Yes. That's all I wanted. And then the next two things are so the Declaration of Independence included maybe racism or like excluded black people in the involvement of who's entitled to liberty and this and that. Abigail Adams, the future wife of John Adams, basically said, "Hey, yo, don't forget about women." Like you take, and then John Adams is in a big thing that I won't read. He's quoted to write, quote, "I cannot but laugh" at what she said to him. That's crazy, right? So there's a little bit of sexism in there too. And the last thing is that property, the word property, was supposed to be there instead of the word happiness in the phrase life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And this is thought to maybe be because Native Americans populated so much land and owned it as property. So it could be that. I'm not sure. But also John Locke, the philosopher, also centered focus and value to happiness over materialistic, things.
Yeah.
So yeah, there goes like the July 4th rundown of Declaration of Independence. Just a little side of, but people today are so upset about everything and, and as it should be. There's a lot of discussing that happened in history. But there's a lot of things that are relative to the time too. Not that it justifies it.
Yeah, there's a song that I shared on my story today. Song saved my life. But the song that I shared today on my story is from this band called the Descendants.
Mm-hmm.
They're an older punk band and whatever. And the song is called Murican.
Nice.
And the whole song is just kind of the lyrics to it just kind of dealing with sort of the pride and disgust that you might feel for being an American, of just like, oh, I'm so proud of these things that America has brought, but I'm also disgusted by the things that it has done.
True.
And the song just kind of deals with that battle of like, I think it even says at some point something about I feel guilty on the 4th of July or something like that.
Okay. I mean, yeah. I mean, even now with the whole abortion, and I don't want to get his name wrong, so I'm not going to get his name wrong, but the person that was just killed by the police in Akron, Ohio, I'll tell you right now. I also thought of you know how in Nirvana they're like, get away. Imagine there was like, America. His name is Jalen Walker, and he was shot about 60 times. He was unarmed and he was shot by 8 cops.
And there was at least 90 rounds shot.
I thought it was 60.
And 60 hit. Well, 60 hit him, but 90 rounds were shot.
And this man is unarmed. He's a black man in Akron, Ohio. We just found out, just reading a gist of it, that they canceled the 4th of July celebrations in Akron, Ohio, as they should. There's more important things to worry about. Who's to say they even did it to commemorate him? They probably did it for the safety of the, people that should and will be protesting. And rest in peace is that guy, for sure. That's the cops continue to, and not all cops, but those cops and the ones that are complete trash, like Derek Chauvin and the rest, the ones who killed Eric Gardner, I think his name was, that couldn't breathe and stuff. I mean, it's just ridiculous. Breonna Taylor, all these people that really, and these are just a couple names of Emmett Till. They're not even cops. It's just racist white people. It just doesn't stop. It just continues to go. I saw an article today, and I'm going to read his name too because I don't want to fuck it up. Sorry, I don't want to take too much time. But essentially, what they did is that he was a bushman, right? And they brought him over to, I'm not sure which state, but they put him in an exhibit with apes for him to be viewed as like, there's been zoos in the past that have had black people in it. And that shit is crazy.
I didn't know that.
That shit is really sad. It's really fucking sad. But in 1904, his name was Ota Benga. He was kidnapped from the Congo and taken to the U.S., where he was exhibited with monkeys. And basically, it's just sad. It's just sad. And obviously, people were upset. And even in the article, as it reads, it was just saying some people were there laughing, but others couldn't help but look away and just see this person. They thought he was 24 or labeled him as 24, but he was way younger.
Man.
Yeah, I mean, I know it's just a lot. I mean, it's just America. There's a lot of great things too. Like Donald. No, I'm just kidding. No, I'm kidding. Fuck that guy. Fuck all politicians. Joe Biden too. And Hillary Clinton's bitch ass. Even Bernie Sanders a little scandalous, But I mean, America has a lot of things, but why do me and you get to be on this podcast right now?
America.
I mean, we can't just go out and say terrible things and on purpose and this and that. But we can now maybe on Spotify, but we can just say those things. But with the now intent and speech, there's different things there. There's a lot of debate there, but what? My bad. Got a little political there.
Let's pump the fucking brakes on this train, my guy.
Sorry, I'm feeling patriotic as fuck right now.
Because we're not going to talk about politics this episode, Franklin. Okay?
We already did, bitch.
You know what we're going to talk about? Politics.
Nice. Nice.
So Supreme Court's been up to some stuff recently.
Especially Texas Supreme Court. Their bitch asses.
So we're going to go over 2 stories with the Supreme Court and then a third story of a local New York story. But first story I got for you, headline reads, Supreme Court limits EPA's ability to restrict power plant emissions.
Okay.
It's not a super long, well, it's a long article, but I took a long time condensing it because there's a lot to it.
It sounds nuclear.
Uh-huh.
Nice.
Yeah.
End the show. End the show right now.
But what I found more interesting was an article that was linked to the first one, which reads, Supreme Court sides with coach over prayers at the 50-yard line.
Okay.
And then the final story that we're going to look over is the headline reads, woman is fatally shot while pushing baby in stroller on Upper East Side.
Jesus Christ. New York City?
Yes.
Jesus Christ.
So those are going to be the stories that I got for you today. And then we'll go to the A.M.C section later, which has nothing to do with any of this.
Yeah, honestly, only at the beginning, really, the whole weird mom shit and everything. Yeah, I mean, And if I'm gonna say one last thing, not long at all. In Uganda, right? In Uganda, you basically, if you come out as a homosexual, you can get life in prison or death penalty. So that's like, I'm not shitting on a different place in the world. I'm just saying you appreciate where you do live as well. Like there's a lot of like for all the shitty things that happen in the US, next time you want to shit on the US, think about your actual favorite politician. I know a lot of people like AOC and stuff. Think about people who have changed the world, like the Ruth Ginsburg lady, you know, and like people, Martin Luther King, you know, even though his side shit was kind of ridiculous and stuff, but John Cena. Yeah. You know, like think about the people
Taiwan is a country.
Yo, China about to burst it, like you thought I was gonna do an accent? You thought I was gonna make fun of Asian people? Okay. Anyway, let's start the show.
All right, my guy. So, first story, again, Supreme Court limits EPA's ability to restrict power plant emissions. Like I said, it was a long article, but honestly, a lot of it was really confusing.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like it.
So I took a long time condensing it as much as I can.
Nice.
So it's not a super long story, but there's still enough to talk about with
and read the headline one more time so I could grasp it.
Supreme Court limits EPA's ability to restrict power plant emissions.
And EPA is Environmental Plant Agency?
Protection Agency.
Okay, cool.
So this happened on Thursday, June 30th. And again, the Supreme Court limited the Environmental Protection Agency's ability to regulate carbon emissions from power plants. Okay. This makes it much tougher for President Biden to achieve his goal of cutting greenhouse gas emissions in half by the end of the decade. And pretty much the vote was a 6-3 vote. The court's 3 liberal justices are in dissent. And they say that the majority had stripped the EPA of the power to respond to the most pressing environmental challenge of our time. And this is just kind of a big deal because this is just another politically divisive issue on the final day of a blockbuster term. And the second story is going to be another example of something that happened during this term.
I think even 6-3 was the amount vote for like Roe versus Wade being overturned, if I'm not mistaken.
I believe so.
Right? Bitches.
So... But yeah, adding to the conservative supermajority's decisions to eliminate the constitutional right to abortion, vastly expand gun rights, and further erode the wall separating church and state, the implications of the ruling could extend well beyond environmental policy. It also signals the court's newly expanded conservative majority is deeply skeptical of the power of administrative agencies to address major issues facing the nation and the planet.
So that's saying like in the future it's going to be tough as fuck to regulate shit for the better?
Yes.
Okay.
Because all these agencies are now going to have to jump through more hoops to even try and like regulate anything now if they want to.
And I don't know if you can get into this, but is this because other people have been lobbying for it to just go otherwise? Like,
well, the reason that this went this way is because it goes without saying that the decision has set off criticisms from the left, but the voices from the coal industry and conservative states are praising the ruling.
Coal industry is dying and dead, and people just keep wanting to, you know, like from what I heard, it's so, I gotta look more into it myself. But coal industry is one of those things that just like, why do we fucking still have that shit? You know what I'm trying to say?
It's pretty ridiculous.
Yeah, and it's so prehistoric to have that shit still. That's why I was saying like who benefits. But you said coal industry and who else?
Conservative states,
of course,
and bitch asses. The reason why conservative states would benefit from this, I'll get to it in a second, but Biden, left with far fewer tools to fight the climate change, said that the ruling was another devastating decision that aims to take our country backwards. We cannot and will not ignore the danger to public health and existential threat the climate crisis poses. On top of that, Patrick Morrisey, Attorney General of West Virginia and one of the leaders of the challenge to the EPA's authority, welcomed the decision. He said EPA can no longer sidestep Congress to exercise broad regulatory power that would radically transform the nation's energy grid and force states to fundamentally shift their energy portfolios away from coal-fired generation. So pretty much the reason why this benefits conservative states is that they believe that they're fine with coal and that they think changing from coal to electricity is too much money and too much time and just not worth the effort.
Keyword, they think that.
Yes.
Because I mean, I'm not an expert on this, just from what I've heard in the past and people talk about it. Like, I'm pretty sure the facts point towards electricity just being the more beneficial thing for our future. And
Yes.
I'm pretty sure coal is upheld in terms of use because of jobs.
Mm-hmm.
Because and I'm not mistaken, a lot of people get cancer from working with coal. I know that's going to pass too.
I think so.
Yeah, but even now, people get cancer working with coal and stuff like that. So I try to make a pun with coal, but I just can't think of one.
Man, yeah, I bet that's all they get for Christmas.
You know what? It's a cold world.
J. Cole.
Rest in peace.
What?
Anyway, shout out to J. Cole. Come on the podcast whenever you want.
Let's not be one of those shows where we predict like celebrities' deaths. I don't want to do that.
I don't know. Maybe we'll trend. You gotta lose one to get one.
What is this fucking break a few eggs bullshit? God
I like
damn.
that. You gotta break a few eggs to make a cake. You do. Sorry, J. Cole. Come on the show, please.
But so to continue on, writing for the majority was Chief Justice John G. Roberts Jr. Remember that name?
Jesus Christ, John G. Roberts Jr.
Yeah.
So much J.
It'll be shortened in a sec, but he only alluded to the harms caused by climate change. While on the other hand, Justice Elena Kagan began her dissent with a long passage detailing the devastation the planet faces, including hurricanes, floods, famines, coastal erosion, mass migration, and political crisis.
Jesus Christ.
The question in the case, Chief Justice Roberts wrote.
Chief Justice.
Did I say that?
Yeah.
Damn. I knew I flubbed up the word, but I didn't know I said cheese.
My bad. That was just, it's a word you don't expect to hear in this whole conversation. I'm listening, but it's just cheese.
That's how I know you're listening.
Nice.
But Chief Justice Roberts wrote, turned on the scope of the language of the Clean Air Act. He wrote Congress had not clearly given the agency sweeping authority to regulate the energy industry. And he, quote unquote, says, capping carbon dioxide emissions at a level that will force a nationwide transition away from the use of coal to generate electricity may be a sensible solution to the crisis of the day, quote unquote. And in dissent, Justice Kagan wrote that the court had substituted its own policy judgment for that of Congress. She says, whatever else this court may know about, it does not have a clue about how to address climate change. And let's say the obvious, the stakes here are high. Yet the court today prevents congressionally authorized agency action to curb power plants' carbon dioxide emissions. The court appoints itself, instead of Congress or the expert agency, the decision maker on climate policy. I cannot think of many things more frightening.
And I don't know what judges need to know. I know they know about like a lot of litigation, all that stuff. Good word. But
Word of the day.
Word of the day, litigation.
How many times are you going to say it?
I'm going to say it 7 times. Someone find a way. I'll find a way, bro. I heard that shit. Whatever. Interesting sentence by Franky.
What the
chatting right now. Anyway, the way judges, understand stuff is it being explained to them, right? Like they hear cases of different scientists and this and that. So it's like, why are we? And that's just my guess. I don't really know how they make decisions. We should find out. But why don't we just let scientists make these decisions? Because I know it would still be kind of iffy because even scientists disagree, and there's like conservative and this type of scientists, whatever. But people who know about the environment and everything else should make those choices. No, just like doctors should be making choices about like people's bodies and stuff like that.
I mean, that sounds ideal.
But this is America.
4th of July, baby.
Put an eagle noise. America. Yeah, that's what I've always thought. And I even have the idea of press conferences for the president. Like, as much as journalism is important, maybe we should have like 5 journalists in there. But I think the rest of the people should be people with PhDs, people who are actual scientists, people who are actually, and lawyers and this and that, asking the questions. Because if the president's like, wait, what? Maybe you should be president. Maybe you should not be on that pedestal.
Yeah, I mean, that's why we have these experts, but they're still being ignored. And that's the biggest issue. Yeah. Because we have these people that do work in office and whatnot and are connected directly to the Supreme Court or the president and are constantly speaking with them, but they're still being ignored. There's just something innate in human nature to just deny science at some point.
Yeah. I mean, it just doesn't benefit you financially or future goals in terms of donations and stuff.
Yeah, it's
it's truth.
I remember everyone was pretty upset when Biden was talking about his plans of
falling off a bike,
that and building some sort of environmental plan or something like that, where it would bring a bunch of jobs and this and whatever,
and everybody collected like, oh,
and it would cost a bunch of money, so everyone was like, oh, what?
Yeah,
for this is so expensive. Like, we should be spending our money on better things and this and
America.
That. And it's like, like. We're literally dying.
Yeah. And today, this is very short, but I was reading an article about Pfizer, and just this goes to show how companies treat politicians, which is obviously like Pinocchio puppeteering type of way. When Donald Trump was president, they donated about $105,000, with hopes that they would push Pfizer. He would push Pfizer. But a lot of his followers, they're anti-vaccine or this and that. When Biden became president, they donated $350,000. So it shows that drastic change and who's going to push your stuff more. It's interesting.
I mean, that's all I wrote down for this story. But what more I can tell you is that it also raises a lot of questions of what comes to regulating companies and things like that. Because if we can no longer regulate their carbon emissions, when it's just kind of a step in the wrong direction. When does it stop? Basically, is what I'm getting at. Because this just could be the beginning of much worse things to come. And there was a whole other article that was linked to this, just talking about sort of the business and side of everything, of just how this benefits companies way more than anyone thinks.
I mean, that's all they care about doing this. There's no soul or compassion in terms of like Mother Nature, like Mother Earth, whatever. There's none of that there. It's straight this and that. I won't lie though. 2 days ago or yesterday, I was with Beatrice and she ordered. I wanted Chipotle. I never haven't had Chipotle in a while.
Okay.
And I know our friend Brian hates Chipotle and Taco Bell. But we ordered on the pickup thing, right, on the app, and then she was like, just reading aloud the thing. It says, "This order has saved emissions and carbon neutral," and she kept reading it. I was like, "I don't give a fuck." I was like, "I don't fucking care." So it's funny because saying that, like, in a sense, I'm a hypocrite because when I acknowledge I don't care, but deep down I'm like, I'm happy that's there, but I don't give a fuck either way. Just stop sucking yourself off, Chipotle. Just do that shit without telling them.
It's a tricky thing because it's like, I feel like I deal with it where I consider myself pretty environmentally friendly, and I get made fun of for that, and it's just all I'm doing is literally just trying to look out for the planet. Like, even with Lucas here at home, I'll catch him throwing things in the trash, and he'll see me take it out of the trash and put it in the recycle. Or sometimes he'll catch me like looking at him before he throws something out, and he'll be like, "Oh, you thought I was gonna throw it in the trash?
Get a load of this guy."
So it really is just one of those things where it's like it's kind of hard because it's like you're just trying to do the right thing.
Yeah, man.
I'm sorry, damn.
I've had friends who just throw trash on the floor outside, and I pick it up. Like, I'll pick up, I'm like, "What the fuck you doing? Just throwing trash on the floor?" Like, it's not even like, I mean, fuck littering, fucking making garbage. It's like, you're just an asshole. That's just some asshole shit to do, And I mean, I don't know, but fuck it, man. New York City is one of the most dirtiest places in the world.
Used to be dirtier.
I believe it. Now the people are just dirty.
If you look at pictures of like the 70s and shit like that, trash everywhere.
I believe it.
Everywhere. It's disgusting.
Man, fuck that. You know what's clean? Boston.
Yeah.
Boston's clean as fuck.
I guess.
Except their language.
I guess it is pretty clean over there now that I think about it.
That's the first thing I got when I went over there. I was like, why the fuck everything's so clean? I was like, everything's so
it's
clean.
Like everyone actually takes care of it. What the fuck?
Yeah, man, that's interesting.
But that's the first story for you. Kind of short, nothing too crazy.
But I encourage anybody listening to really look into how effective the coal industry is and how truly ineffective it isn't. Like, it's not like, John Cena exciting. It's the man of the day. But it is incredibly interesting how it applies today and how selfish it is happening right now for it to be pushed forward in the environment.
Yeah, and it kind of might be like beating a dead horse, but you know, care for the environment.
Yeah, man.
Like we are very much hurtling towards certain doom.
You want your kids to see a tiger? Clean your shit up.
If you want your kids to have kids, clean up.
Facts.
Like it's as simple as that.
A lot of people do say though that we won't feel the effects of climate change until like way later, like way. And I think to an extent that's true in terms of like the true flooding and the true like mega hot sun. We'll be dead though. So honestly, it
won't affect us.
It affects like kids.
Exactly.
They fucking will have their Teslas with super hot AC, super cold AC. You know, fucking nice houses and stuff. We'll be dead, bro. Fuck it.
I didn't expect you to be so nihilistic.
Hey, but that's how it's 4th of July.
America!
Rock, flag, and eagle. Shout out to Charlie Day.
But yeah, you know that's all I got for you for the whole episode. Thanks for coming out.
Fade out. Just drop the mic. All right.
But so like I mentioned earlier, my second story was linked to the first one where, like as I mentioned, this is just adding to the list of things that the Supreme Court has been doing again with Roe versus Wade and vastly expanding gun rights. Like now that you can just carry a gun on you here in New York, outside in public, and further eroding the wall separating church and state. And I was really interested by that because I was like, well, how so? Because I haven't necessarily seen like a lot of news in terms of anything of that. So it linked me to this article, which again reads, Supreme Court sides of coach over prayers at the 50-yard line. And this happened on Monday, June 27th. So we're going back in time a little bit, just a few days. So
I was just going back in time.
Nice. But pretty much the whole thing ended up being that the coach has a constitutional right to pray at the 50-yard line after his team's games. This is the latest step by the court in expanding the place of religion in public life. And again, the vote was 6-3, with the court's 3 liberal members in dissent. The decision came less than a week after the court ruled by the same vote that Maine could not exclude religious schools from a state tuition program. So immediately, it's just kind of, you know, again, religion for the win. And there's a story that we kind of mentioned before a couple episodes ago that I said I was about to bring up on the show when it happened, and it gets mentioned in this article.
Nice.
So full circle.
God
damn it.
Just say Jesus. Jesus did that.
So Justice Neil M. Gorsuch, writing for the majority, said that the prayers of the coach, Joseph Kennedy, were protected by the First Amendment, and that... The fuck did I write here?
I don't know, bro. You wrote it.
That the school district had erred in suspending him after he refused to end the practice. He, quote unquote, says, respect for religious expressions is indispensable to life in a free and diverse republic. Whether these expressions take place in a sanctuary or on a field, and whether they manifest through the spoken word or a bowed head.
Or molest kids. You priests. Just saying.
But bolstering religious rights, and notably those of Christians, has been a signature project the court led by Chief Justice John G. Roberts Jr. If you remember that
same
guy.
Motherfucker. Jeez.
Yeah. But and so earlier in this term, the court unanimously ruled in favor of a Christian group that sought to raise its flag in front of Boston City Hall, and with only one dissent for a death row inmate who sought his pastor's touch in the execution chamber. So
the one on death row, he saw his pastor's touch. What was it again?
He sought his pastor's touch in the execution chamber.
Like he was like, "Can you touch me?"
I guess. Yeah.
I heard something completely different. Okay, cool.
So those are just another 2 examples in this same term of where religion sort of wins in the Supreme Court.
Okay.
And it just kind of goes on where in the last few years, the court has also ruled that a Catholic social services agency in Philadelphia could defy city rules and refuse to work with same-sex couples who apply to take in foster children.
That's the cake shit, right? The cake. I'm bugging out.
I don't know, actually. What is cake?
Say that one more time, because I'm just, there's a lot of stories like this. That's why when you say that, I'll tell you right now.
Yeah, the court has also ruled that a Catholic school services agency in Philadelphia could defy city rules and refuse to work with same-sex couples who apply to take in foster children. That a state program supporting private schools in Montana must include religious ones, and that the Trump administration could allow employers with religious objections to deny contraception coverage to female workers.
Hey.
So, just more examples of religion for the win.
The white man.
So it raises a lot of questions of what does this mean for church and state, where it's pretty set in stone, or that those things should be separated. And
I mean, they're clearly not. They're clearly not separated in some sense. It's pretty much, you're able to practice religion, and then we have the most religious assholes at the Supreme Court saying that, oh no, this is completely, it has nothing to do with God. It's everything to do with, I don't know. The cake thing was a cake shop who refused to make a cake for a same-sex couple.
That sounds familiar.
Yeah, and then I think, I don't know if they won or they lost. I mean, private business is private business. I think that's that. But they try to declare it either like a hate
crime or something.
A hate cake. I don't know. I'm confused. I'm not confused. I just forgot what the outcome was for that.
Yeah.
But I don't think it was the outcome that people wanted. Like people that are pro, LGBTQ and stuff and everything. And, I mean, I don't know. It's just hilarious how even up to like baked goods, you're like, no way, no way I'm gonna do that. It's dumb, man.
Yeah. They also have a department. I didn't write this down, but they have a department in government that's supposed to run the separation of state and church. And that person was just like, yeah, this is getting really bad. Yeah, and it's just pretty ridiculous that this keeps happening. But to continue on, dissenting to what was said, Justice Sonia Sotomayor wrote the majority had gone astray by prioritizing the religious rights of a school official over those of his students, who could feel pressure to take part in religious activities. She says, in doing so, the court sets us further down a perilous path in forcing states to entangle themselves with religion, with all of our rights hanging in the balance. And Mr. Kennedy, no surprise, was delighted by the ruling. This is just so awesome. All I've ever wanted was to be back on the field with my guys.
Oh, that's pretty sweet, though. I play football, so I'm a little biased. Let's go, coach. That's fucking funny. It seems like he just wants to pray and have fun.
Yeah, it's just, he seems pretty innocent, honestly.
Like he's just trying to do his Jesus thing. I know you don't follow the NFL like that, but there was a whole scenario with the quarterback, Tim Tebow, who did this pretty much the same way. I'll tell you this, when I saw this article, I was like, I don't care. I was like, I don't know why this is being brought up to the Supreme Court. This has already happened in professional NFL football, where Tim Tebow, he was very religious when he was in Florida Gators. I don't know if he did it then too, but when he's on the Denver Broncos, whenever he scored, he would either like go to the middle of the field or somewhere, and he would like do this thing. Like, I know you can't see it, but it's like hold your fist to your head and like kneel, and it would be him praying in celebration. And people, both sides stupid. Like people getting upset and people being like, oh, great God and this and that. And I get it, it's religion, like celebrate. But then Colin Kaepernick, he did the kneeling thing during the national anthem. And aside from how shitty he is at throwing the football and how you can never justify how bad he is, he's so bad at playing football. I don't care what he is politically. He is the worst quarterback ever. Fuck that guy, football wise. Anyway, so he would protest by kneeling during national anthem, right? He's so bad at football. He's so bad. Like anybody that thought he was good, he's
Frankie,
so bad.
Get on with it.
But he would kneel during the national anthem, and it struck a whole wave of protests. And the NFL condemned him. And people were even saying that he wasn't getting opportunities to try out for teams, even though he sucked, because of that. That's a whole conspiracy thing. But he was definitely getting no recognition at all, not even as a backup quarterback, even though he sucked. Anyway, the NFL condemned this and that. I think they even started to fine people, and because the NFL and Donald Trump are buddy, Okay. After a while, after the whole Black Lives Matter thing, after this and that, the NFL finally apologized and said, we're very sorry. I'm not quoting exactly, but we apologize for anything. People should be able to, celebrate how they want to or protest how they want to and this and that. And it's like, how stupid do you look for, Like you're not. It's just so dumb.
Backtracking like that.
Yeah, man. And for what reason did you stop this guy from doing that? Clearly, he was doing it for a reason that he felt powerful towards, and you're just invoking and encouraging hate because he probably got so much backlash for doing that when they could have just allowed it and celebrated it as protest.
Mm-hmm.
Like if it was something vulgar or against something like burning a flag or whatever, I would chill the fuck out. But like you're gonna allow Tim Tebow to praise God on national television, but I know it's not religion, but you're not gonna let this guy protest, how he wants to peacefully and silently. It's sad. So when I saw this guy being able to or not being able to, I just didn't care because I feel that America's been through this already, and now we're able to make it political because it's in the school, and I do agree with the whole idea of it may invoke other kids to participate religiously, but I don't know. It's odd.
Yeah, it's a sort of conflicting sort of story. Yeah, because as I'll go get on with it, the sort of debate that goes on between the majority and the non-majority, they have some interesting things to say for sure. But again, Mr. Kennedy was super delighted by the ruling. Like I said, and he had served as an assistant coach at a public high school in Bremerton, Washington, near Seattle. And for 8 years, he routinely offered prayers after games with students, often joining him. He also led and participated in prayers in the locker room, a practice he later abandoned and did not defend to the Supreme Court, which I thought was interesting.
Yeah.
In 2015, after an opposing coach told the principal at Mr. Kennedy's school that he thought it was pretty cool that Mr. Kennedy was allowed to pray in the field, the school board instructed Mr. Kennedy not to pray if it interfered with his duties or involved students. And a school official recommended Mr. Kennedy's contract not be renewed for the 2016 season. And so Mr. Kennedy did not reapply for the position. And so this is where I get into sort of the debate between the majority and non-majority, because the majority and dissenting opinions offered starkly different accounts of what had happened in Mr. Kennedy's final months. Justice Gorsuch wrote that the coach, at least after the games at issue in the case, offered his prayers quietly while his students were otherwise occupied. Justice Sotomayor gave a different account of the facts in the context of a longer time period. She says Kennedy consistently invited others to join his prayers and for years led student athletes in prayer. And the dissent included pictures of Mr. Kennedy kneeling with players and others, which apparently is considered an unusual move to do in court, which I thought was interesting. But Justice Gorsuch wrote that Mr. Kennedy was not speaking for the school when he prayed. He merely took a moment to pray while others checked their text messages or greeted friends.
Interesting.
So you really see this back and forth that goes on between them. He continues to say, not everything school employees do during work hours is official conduct. If it were, he said, a school could fire a Muslim teacher for wearing a headscarf in the classroom or prohibit a Christian aide from praying quietly over her lunch in the cafeteria.
I think those are two different things. Those are two different things.
I felt like it was a pretty sort of extreme, controversial almost thing to say for sure.
He was sounding cool at first, and then it's just like whoa, what the fuck? Because it's one of those things where like you're entitled to you're not saying, hey everybody, wear one of these and this is why. You may invoke curiosity, but I don't know. I just think that's weird because praying quietly during your lunch is like what do you use the bathroom and then you're like, I just want to take a shit. Yeah, it's your own time. So
yeah, because again, I think it goes back to that argument of that when you're a coach, which I'll say again later, it sort of will want to make students join and participate. Yeah,
especially to younger kids that are following you into like battle, how they say for football and stuff. Oh yeah.
And to compare that to just seeing your teacher wearing a headscarf, that's not going to make you want to wear a headscarf. Again, like you said, it might make you curious, but it's not going to make you want to wear a headscarf, I don't think.
Exactly.
So I just didn't find that as a super one-to-one apples-to-apples comparison.
No, me neither. That shit is apples to pomegranates.
But in dissent, Justice Sotomayor said Mr. Kennedy effectively coerced students into praying with him. She says, students look up to their teachers and coaches as role models and seek their approval. Students also depend on this approval for tangible benefits. Players recognize that gaining the coach's approval may pay dividends small and large, from extra playing time to a stronger letter of recommendation to additional support in college athletic recruiting.
Interesting.
And so, again, like I was mentioning, other examples of religion for the win in the court. Over the last 60 years, the Supreme Court has rejected prayer in public schools, at least when it was officially required or a part of a formal ceremony like a high school graduation. But as recently as 2000, the court ruled that organized prayers led by students at high school football games violated the First Amendment's prohibition of government establishment of religion. And at the time, they quote unquote say, the delivery of a pregame prayer has an improper effect of coercing those present to participate in an act of religious worship. That was said by Justice John Paul Stevens, who wrote that for the majority in that case. So that got brought up for this case.
John Paul is a religious name, would you say?
I don't know.
Interesting.
Why would you say that?
Because, you know, like they would like John Paul. I don't know. I just thought like when people with three names usually isn't that like affiliated with not religion, but like the other guy, like other guy was something Stevens, but John Paul. I'm pretty sure there's things in the Bible with like John, thingy, Leviticus, all that stuff like that.
I'm not sure.
Just saying. All right.
But Justice Gorsuch wrote that those precedents did not apply to Mr. Kennedy's conduct. That he says the prayers for which Mr. Kennedy was disciplined were not publicly broadcast or recited to a captive audience. Students were not required or expected to participate. He continues to say that the message of the decision in favor of Mr. Kennedy was straightforward. He says, the Constitution and the best of our traditions counsel mutual respect and tolerance, not censorship and suppression, for religious and non-religious views alike. And that's pretty much what went down. And that's how Mr. Kennedy gets to keep on praying, because it's super fucking awesome.
I think it's super strange. I think it's super strange. And I think more so than that, it's more obvious that there's a mixture of church and state. There's no separation. Like this is constant mixture. And I'm not even trying to advocate against his praying, but maybe like he said, maybe he should do it on his own time. You know, maybe he should, after the game, he's like, I'll be right back. I'm going to go to the bathroom and go pray. You know, if that's what you're saying and this and that. Because, I don't know. Or maybe just wear your Jesus cross and have that and go pray when you get home. You know, it's, I think that when a teacher does something, it opens the door for students to follow. You know, and I think it's true. And I was trying to think of an example. It's just kind of hard. But this is the only thing I can think of, which doesn't make any sense. But imagine there's like a tables of food and pizza and whatever. And all the kids are sitting there and the teacher's there just sitting and nobody's going to eat. And the teacher's like, well, he just goes, grabs a pizza and starts eating and stuff like that. And there's stuff enough for everybody. I know that doesn't really correlate and stuff like that. But like, oh, like, can we now because the teacher just went up to go get some pizza and stuff and there's enough for all of us? You know, it's just like kids are they're fucking, what's the word, sponges, you know? So they're going to, if not go, that's a terrible analogy. But what I'm trying to say is that they see him doing something and it's like, well, maybe until next time I do something good in life, I need to pray to thank God because that's what coach did. You know, like I carry over lessons and values that my coach has given me, you know, like while I played football and on all types of ways. You know, this is a story about Lou Gehrig and this and that I always tell Beatrice and all people, you know, like about seizing opportunities and this and that. And that's just talking sports, but like it's influential as fuck, you know? So like,
yeah,
any role model.
I mean, it was just super well said by Justice Sotomayor, where she said that like students look up to their teachers and look at them as role models. Yeah. And again, when you see someone like that, like praying, you're gonna make that correlation at a certain point of oh, we won this game and coach just prayed. That must be a good thing. And then that sort of creates that mentality of like I guess that orthodox mentality of like, oh, God is good because this happened. Like
or like you win the biggest game of your life and then you go to college and then you go to NFL and it's like, why did this happen? It's like I gotta thank God. Yeah, you know, because at first, like I didn't, you know, it might invoke a little agnostic, right? This or that, whatever. But I don't know. I think it should just be one of those things where you just You know, for the sake of influence, just take it away. You know, and not for nothing. If you're praying in the middle of everybody, you're a little full of yourself. You're a little full of yourself at that point too. You know, like chill the fuck out.
I don't know. That one coach thought it was pretty cool.
Probably also reads the Bible for fun. You know, not that there's anything wrong with that.
Weren't you just reading your Bible?
No. Now, when I went to Arizona, I went to go, because me and Brian, we were there, and he went to go do some shit. I was in the state by myself, so I was like, what do I do? So I went to some bar by myself, and I was just sitting in a Mexican place, getting some drinks, reading the Bible. But I was just like, I'm never going to read the Bible, but I do want to, like, as well as the Quran and all these other things, you know. What do Jewish people read?
Fuck, I forget. Shit.
Aside from, I can't say bills, but just kidding. Just kidding. What is it?
It's like on the tip of my tongue.
Right? I gotta look it up. Jewish Bible. What is it? The Torah. The Torah. Nah, look at me, smart as fuck. You know what I'm trying to say? I would like to read all those things because I feel they people live their lives based on these books, you know, and there's a lot of lessons in there. Actually, man, I was watching a video about some guy, silly guy, but it's a video, Urban Rescue Ranch on YouTube. He makes a bunch of funny little videos, but he like came up on like he has his own farm now, and all he does is rehabilitate like animals on the farm and stuff like that. And on the walls, he's very religious. On the walls of his rehabilitation like farm, one of it says, "Bring to me your weary and burdened, and I will give them rest." Right, and I think that's Exodus something. And I mean, he was preaching about. I seen the video. That shit got me dumb emotional. He was like, I'm not advocating this for you, and I'm not all telling you to follow this and that. But himself, like his story was basically, he was having time. He was down dumps, this and that, having bad time mentally, and this and that, depressed. And then he walked past some random church under the highway. He heard people just like praying and singing, and he went up to them. And all time before him, he kept praying to God, like, please speak to me, like, please. And so when he found this church on accident, some guy came up to him, and the guy told him, he's like, hey man, like, I don't know what it is, but I feel like God's telling me that to tell you that everything's gonna be okay. Like, you're gonna find your way. Just, you know, keep relying on what you're doing and do what you want to do. And as long as you do that, like, God's gonna help you get there. Just trust him. And yeah, man, like now he just hit like 1 million subscribers on YouTube, like 1,600,000. I mean, he turned a whole crack house with syringes on the floor, like disgusting. He turned all that into a whole farm that's functional.
And he lives there?
And he lives there. He lives on the farm with the animals.
Wow.
And it's fucking inspirational as shit, man, because all he was doing before was like some company where he would just, you know, like sitting down promoting trades that people would get to, and they would make the money, but he would just get like what's that word? Commission. And yeah, and he just, you know, he said, like, again, I'm not advocating God for you guys and this and that. And he rarely does talk about like Jesus and stuff, but it was an Easter episode. And then I listened to it. I got emotional as fuck, bro. Because for me, it's not even just, you know, Jesus or anything like that. It's more so just finding your place in this world and being able to do what you love for a living, you know, rather than like sitting at some fucking desk or making a latte, you know, or fucking, you know, driving an Uber, you know, like do some shit that you really love, you know. So yeah, check him out, Urban Rescue Ranch. He's a silly motherfucker. He makes funny, stupid videos, but fucks those videos.
Nice.
Yeah, man. God.
You see, religion can be good.
Yeah. But not for the kids.
Not for the kids.
Not for the kids. Get
they're
your Jesus out of my children.
Hey, yo.
Oh man, I don't know if you ever seen It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, where he sings the song of the Nightman. And the Nightman.
I haven't seen that one.
I'll ruin it, but just Google him. Google It's Always Sunny, Charlie Day the Nightman. Super funny. Hey, we should make that into shirts.
Hey, yo.
No.
Get your Jesus out of my children.
Get your Jesus out of my children. And then there's a little picture of Jesus going. Like for listeners, just putting his face to his thing and looking, you know.
I wish we
suspicious.
could get fan art of that. That'd be so funny.
Somebody please do that shit for us. We'll do that shit for us. We'll just pretend it's you guys.
We'll fake sign it.
Yeah. Get your Jesus on my children.com.
That's been my second topic. You know, I felt like it was a little juicier than the first topic.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't think it would go that far. In terms of detail and like back and forth. I think it was a good article. I just saw the article at first and I was like, whatever. Like when I put on my phone and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So, but I do like that article a lot.
Yeah, no, because again, I was just super curious by what it meant in the first place of like, well, what's going on between church and state? Because, with my beliefs and whatnot, I'm just always really on top of that, I guess, or just trying to see of like what's being done. And I just find it really alarming when religion gets kind of shoved down people's throats.
Yeah.
So it can be a little scary.
Get out of my children's throats, Jesus. I agree though. I fully agree. It shouldn't be done, not with any religion at all, because there are so many religions out there. There are like thousands, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, it's one thing to do it at home because it's family generation and things like that.
Yeah,
but at a public school and things like that, because I don't think we'd be having this conversation if this happened at, say, a private school or a church school.
What would you think if he did that on Zoom meetings with kids? That'd be interesting, right? Like he's like, "Hey, excuse me, guys, I'm just gonna pray real quick," but he doesn't turn off his mic or doesn't mute himself. He just prays.
I mean, ideally, they would just tell him to mute his mic, and I feel like it'd be easier to just accept that than it would be to just stop praying entirely.
Yeah.
Because if he's just doing it off camera and he mutes his mic, then it's like no one has to listen to it. But the biggest debate has just been that he's doing it in front of like the players and the students and stuff. So
imagine he prays, he turns off his video but not his mic, and all you hear is, "Jesus, I hate these fucking kids. Please just let me get through one more year before I fucking kill myself. I fucking hate these kids." Hey guys, I'm back.
This is awesome.
Everything's great.
Fucking Joseph Kennedy.
Yeah, man. America.
Yeah, no, I mean, again, do what you want with religion, as I always say.
Do what you want. In general, just don't hurt, kill anything, people,
Yeah, just as I always say, whatever gets you out of bed in the morning, whatever makes you roll up, whatever gives you morning wood, any of that, I don't care. Just keep that shit to yourself.
That ass. And nobody care.
Don't poke me with that.
All right, man. So,
but that was the second topic.
Nice.
The third topic is going to be a little shorter because
Okay.
it's not super expansive, but I was seeing the headlines about this, and it's local news, and I like talking about local news.
Nah, it's dope.
But I'll read the headline for you. Woman is fatally shot while pushing baby in stroller on Upper East Side. So the victim was Isaiah Johnson. She was 20 years old and was shot to death near the intersection of Lexington Avenue and 95th Street on June 29th, which was a Wednesday.
Absolutely terrible.
The victim's 3-month-old child was unhurt, and this happened around 8:30 p.m. And it was kind of quiet in the neighborhood because it's 8:30, but it wasn't in the middle of the night. It wasn't dead.
3 months, right? She was the baby?
Mm-hmm.
Jesus Christ.
The assailant shot her once in the head at very close range, and she was taken to Metropolitan Hospital Center and pronounced dead. The attacker, who was wearing a black hooded sweatshirt and black pants, ran off after firing, and they went east down a tree-lined block with brownstone buildings on one side and a park and public school on the other. So this dude literally just...
This piece of shit.
Ran up, popped her, and ran.
And for what reason? What is going on? That's just fucking terrible, man.
So when it happened, the biggest question was just why.
Why, yeah.
And they were really trying to pinpoint why this could be happening because they figured this wasn't just a random act of
assassination
violence
or some shit like that.
Yeah, they think it was an assassination.
Oh, they thought there was a motive for doing it. Oh,
because they thought that there's no reason for this random act of violence. That it seems like it was done out of passion, is what they were saying.
Oh, the Christ. I'm sorry.
Damn.
I'm sorry. We're past that story, Frankie. Well, that's fucking terrible. Okay, so what happened?
So now which happened on Friday, July 1st, the father has been arrested. The father, Isaiah Argro, was apprehended in the Brownsville neighborhood of Brooklyn and was charged with murder and criminal possession of a weapon.
Oh, shit.
This was premeditated murder. He intended to kill my daughter no matter what. This was said by Lisa Desort, who was Miss Johnson's mother. There had been a history of domestic abuse and threats between Mr. Argro and Miss Johnson, and according to Miss Johnson's family and law enforcement officials. Mr. Argro had threatened Miss Johnson regularly, Miss Dessert said, before and after the birth of their daughter. Mm-hmm. And she says, he beat my daughter up as she was 6 months pregnant and she left him. Ever since then, he's been threatening her and me with death.
Jesus.
And honestly, that's the story. It's
so it's really, like open ended, right? You don't know what's happening at this point.
Yeah, because it's still pretty fresh. We don't know exactly why he did it. It's just all we know now is that there's been a history of domestic abuse between them, and it clearly this guy has issues. Yeah,
that's fucking sad, man. I mean, just sad, and not that it's not sad for the family of the mom and this and that. Oh, I mean, the same family, a 3-month-old, but that 3-month-old like was not gonna have a mother no more, you know, and barely will have a father apparently because he's this and that. So, I mean, it's just, I don't know how you can humanly do that. You know, I don't care what the situation is unless it's like, you know, this mother was torturing you the whole, you know, and even then, there's no justification in killing. You know, it's just sad. That's just, and but it's not, and this is what's even sadder, I guess, in a sense that it's just not, it's not surprising to me in terms of New York City. Because New York City is a dangerous place too.
Yeah, the article really tried to get into sort of the sort of gun politics of it all, of just kind of trying to push beat that dead horse again of like, oh, you know, this is just another.
She should probably keep that out the fucking article. To be honest with you, know? Not in a bad way. I'm just saying like. Chill with your politics, ho.
I the reason why I didn't include it in this is because I didn't feel like it was necessary for us to talk about, because we've talked about gun rights and gun control on this show before, and whatever.
And it is pretty much shooting a dead horse, you know, to get it a little more. Yes. You know, it's pretty much that. Like, it's, have your stances. I mean, you saw the DMs, the direct messages between me and Brian, like having a whole fucking book's worth of talking and stuff. But I mean, it's definitely something to talk about. But at the end of the day, my mother is dead. A daughter will have no parent, as you know, this and that as she grows up, and it's just sad. But the reason I bring it up as it's not surprising to New York City is just aside gun violence, it's just, I mean, is that mental health? Is that gun violence? Is that this or that? I mean, it's one person affected at a time, and then that person's family is affected, and
yeah,
I mean, I don't know, bro.
I mean, when it was talking about like the gun control and gun violence in New York City specifically, they had like a whole paragraph where they listed a bunch of deaths of people that have been dying in the city. It also noted that since the pandemic, which I mentioned before, crime has risen, but on top of that, deaths by guns have gone up. Yeah. I don't have the numbers, but from what I remember is that 2021 had the most death by guns. We have less. I think we have a 12% drop this year compared to last year of guns by death, but that we're still at a higher percentage than 2019.
Of course. I mean, and then it comes down to like, are those guns legally bought or illegally bought? You know,
and that's something the article is also talking about, because our mayor was also talking about the whole situation, talking about how he's going to try and crack down on this situation and gun control and all this stuff and whatever. Yeah. So the article really tried to sort of have that in at the end. Yeah. But I guess at the end of the day, like, what else can you say about this article? Because it's just this, it sucks. Yeah. And it seems like such a random act of hate. And we still don't even have the full details. We don't know why he did it. We don't know for what reason. Yeah.
And say it's not the husband. You know, I know it kind of seems like it is, you know, but say it isn't, right? I mean, I wouldn't be surprised by the way. I wouldn't be surprised if it was just some random motherfucker that just did that shit. Even though it is just a completely random act of violence, you know. I don't know. This city don't fucking surprise me at all no more. Any city in the world, to be honest with you. But, I mean, look at the Copenhagen shit.
Copenhagen.
I try to say it right, but I still want to say it. I still want to say Copenhagen. And I mean, 3 dead and 2 wounded, if I'm not mistaken, in the mall. And where is Copenhagen anyway?
I believe that's Denmark.
Okay, I would just believe you. Yeah, it sucks, man. It's fucking crazy.
Yeah, there's a lot of violence going out there, and I mean, especially here in New York City, because the article was also pulling up quotes from people that live in the neighborhood. Some people were surprised, some were not. Some were definitely just kind of like, well, this is New York City, I'm not surprised, and whatever. Yeah. Other people were like, I can't believe that. This is such a nice neighborhood and whatever. But I think the location is pretty interesting to happen in the Upper East Side. Yeah, because like that's a pretty I wouldn't even say gentrified, but that's just sort of a high rise like area.
Yeah. I mean, those places are getting gentrified though. Everywhere's getting gentrified. You know,
I just wouldn't say it's gentrified just because it's like OG. Okay, like nice. Like before gentrification was a thing. Like it was already like that. like already high rise luxury and shit like that, being right next to Central Park and everything.
But now it's OG, outstandingly gentrified.
Yes.
I'm here on
nice.
it. I'm here on it. Yeah, man. I mean, truly rest in peace to her, and damn. Yeah, there's not really much else you could say about that for real. It's one of those things where just be careful out there all the time. It's a very harsh place for people, especially women, you know, and it sucks. And I was talking about that with Beatrice too. How about she was telling me a story about her friend who was just talking about like her experience in New York City, and you know how like Asians are supposedly getting more directed hate towards them, which, you know, I don't know. I just think everybody in New York City has a harsh time, and I just think that we should really look at those statistics, you know, before anything else. I think a lot of people face adversity in New York City, is how I'll keep it, like, more simple and stuff, because I don't want to like shit on Asians and be like, no, that's not true, you know. But I think there's a lot of crime happening everywhere, you know. But she was saying how like, oh, you know, this guy was, you know, look, he's just staring at me and this and that. But I think the guy had just glanced at her like once real quick. And but then women are always saying like, I wish I could go outside at 3 a.m., you know, then take a stroll. I think that's like, those are trending posts about that. Like, what would you do if there was no men in the world? And then they would say like, oh, I would take a stroll at 3 a.m. I mean, first of all, would you really do that? Like, you know, I'm saying, of course you would, you know, because you'd be able to. And it's definitely much harder for women to go out there at night, especially than men. I think so. Even though it's, you know, that there's a kid who got killed. I think he was leaving a gay club, the Julio. I forget his name. Okay. But basically, he was found dead, and all his bank accounts were drained. Damn. Yeah. After he was leaving, like a gay club or something like that. And it's just, I'm not trying to say who has it tough, who doesn't. I both say that women are a bigger risk for, you know, greater violence and this and that, because men be physically stronger. And this, I mean,
that's just statistic. because
it's just, you know, eggshells as fuck. Oh, wow. This just in. Yeah, not. Oh my God, bro. This is actually kind of crazy. 5 people were killed and 16 were hospitalized in the shooting in Chicago. Highland Park.
God damn.
Yeah, that 4 minutes ago. I actually got chills reading that shit.
Fuck.
Bro, what the fuck?
Wow. Shit.
Jesus Christ. I'm just gonna read through this article real quick. Because it's not that long at all. Yeah, 5 people died because they opened fire at a parade in Chicago suburb of Highland Park. They're searching for the suspect. They recovered a firearm. 16 people are in the hospital. And Jesus Christ, man, there's videos on social media appearing to show bloodied parade goers fleeing the parade in the downtown area. Bro, I'm getting chills just reading this. That's fucking crazy. I don't know if it just happened, but it's literally just reported.
That's insane, man.
Bro, what the fuck? Like, you know, like, Jesus Christ. Wow. And like, it's like, we were just talking about that stuff, you know, like, yeah, I think maybe even before this or something, but bro, and that's scary, man.
Man, fuck.
I'm gonna look up hashtag Chicago. That's fucking wild. I mean, I've always kind of been waiting for a breaking news thing, you know. Not that one though. Damn. You remember we talked about the lady who's on death row, and literally as we were talking about her, she was found like she didn't have to face
that was some universe type shit for sure.
Bro. Hell yeah. But that's not this universe. This is just gun violence and the 4th of July shooting.
Gross.
Damn, bro.
And it had to happen on 4th of July, too.
I mean, I'm pretty sure that had to be planned. But what the fuck? Like, you know, I'm not trying to even be funny about America, you know? I'm trying to say, like, what the fuck is this person doing, you know? I wonder what that motive will end up coming out to be.
Fuck, man. I maybe we'll do an update on that. But, I mean, for sure, we're gonna do an update on this third story if any information comes out.
Hopefully more information comes out.
Yeah, because I would love to know why this woman had to die, because that no amount of domestic abuse should lead to death like that. Like that's fucking crazy.
Not at all.
And I forgot to write it down, but can you kindly pull up the number of the domestic abuse hotline?
Oh yeah, I got you right now.
That would be great to put down here.
Domestic abuse hotline. I will tell you right now. It is the National Domestic Violence Hotline. They're available 24/7, English, Spanish, and 200 more languages through interpretation. You can text them you could text START START to 8878, or you can call them at 800-799-7233. And they also have a website. It's thehotline.org. So you can use all those sources. Please get to it if you're experiencing that. And like I hope you aren't, but if a friend is or this and that, please always, and if you have your phone, all those resources for anything, suicide, all that stuff, always available on your phone. Jesus.
It's crazy. My mom, I was just walking Link the other morning, and her and like Lucas got into like a little dispute and whatever. And
I thought you meant Link. I'm so like her and Link, their dog. Yeah.
And so Lucas tried calling her as soon as she went outside, and she answered the phone. But as soon as she answered the phone, like she like noticed behind her that some dude is walking like really close to her.
Oh my God.
And so she hung up the phone for some reason. And continued to just kind of like walk away to get away from this guy. Mm-hmm. But when Lucas and I heard about what happened, we were like, why did you hang up the phone? Yeah. Like, that's the worst thing you could have done.
Like, you need to have that available. I mean, it could also be maybe to call the police or this and that, but you're right. Like, it's the worst thing you could do at the moment.
Like, we were just really freaked out, and we were just like kind of pissed. We were just like, damn, Mom, like, what the fuck? Why didn't you just stay on the phone? You were already on the phone. Like, because I remember like with my ex and whatever, like anytime that she felt like she was being followed, she used to call me and whatever, and just so that way she could feel like she's
safer, a little more,
and whatever,
heard and witnessed.
Yeah, so it's just I was like, Ma, you're bugging. Like, what are you doing?
Blow the fuck up, Ma. I mean, for any guy that has had that experience of, especially like somebody who's a woman who's called her, like, even if it's like a friend or like a personal like relationship and this and that. But like, I've had that happen to me where I'm just out, and then like, Beatrice calls me and she's like, hey, like I really feel like somebody's following me. And it's like, you can never take that lightly. Like sometimes, yes, you just think. But I mean, she's told me multiple times where she's like, you have to believe in general. You're not going to be like, no, you're fine, this and that. And she had to go into a store and this and that, and even though she was like 2 blocks away, like the most I could do, because I wasn't she was 2 blocks away from the house and I wasn't there, so I called an Uber from there to 2 blocks away, so just to get home and stuff. But I mean, that's something you can always do, like, is to help out, get them a cab ASAP, tell them to go into a very popular area, get them a cab, even no matter how far they are. But it's scary. Like, I was there, I felt powerless, I felt this and that. And I mean, if I'm feeling scared in that moment, imagine how scared, the counterpart must feel.
Yeah.
And not even a woman, just even if you called me and you were like, bro, I'm scared as fuck, I'd be like, it's your fault. No, I'm kidding. If my bitch can't get the phone. No, I mean, do whatever you can. Like, feel safe enough to call people and stuff. But, and again, back to the whole New York City being just this fucking jungle of disgustingness, that, with nice sunsets.
New York!
Nothing you can't do. The new song by Alicia Keys, New York, with like Kanye and shit like that. Fuego.
Yeah.
Fuego. I love that song, bro. I was going to say, with this whole 4th of July shooting, do you think we will stop having live events in the future like this? It's kind of hard to not do them, but imagine a whole year, which, whatever you believe in this and that, like every event gets shot up.
Well, I mean, it kind of makes me think about, we were just talking about France and Europe and the shootings going on over there. And it makes me think about how they've been talking about encasing the Eiffel Tower to prevent any future terrorist attacks on the Eiffel Tower.
But then it would just be a terror attack on the encasing.
I mean, the Eiffel Tower wouldn't go down.
That's true. It's kind of like how the Mona Lisa had that thin glass in front of it and somebody threw cake at it. You ever heard about that?
No, I haven't.
What the fuck? It's like major news. Some person, I think it was 2 guys or 1 guy, but there was 1 guy dressed up as an old lady, and he just threw cake at the Mona Lisa. But the Mona Lisa had a thin layer of glass, so it was fine. But this dickhead, that's just mad funny. There was also another artist who I would like to share. I mean, this is not really that original. I know a lot of people like to just advocate against, oh my God, they this and this so different, even though they're recreating the same thing. But there's an artist by the name of, I think, oh man, I don't know what her name is. There's probably so much times people have done this, but they drew a black Mona Lisa.
Okay.
And the one I saw recently, which is dope. I mean, it's just cool. There's a whole lot of artists who probably done this. And we gotta get Twitter. We gotta get on Twitter, Elon Musk.
Yeah.
Let's see. I can't find the caption for it, but this is how she looks. Cool.
Okay.
Like, just pretty cool and stuff like that. This is also I heard on the Joe Rogan podcast because it informative motherfucker. There's a Leonardo da Vinci painting that sold for just ridiculous amount of money, right? But when it was sold, I don't think the details were released that it had been refurbished by another expert painter. Okay. So majority of the painting was like fucked. So they had a expert painter fill in the fucked parts of the painting. And essentially 90% of the painting is the expert artist, and like 10% and like the rest of it is Leonardo da Vinci's painting. So when they sold it, was it like, like how are you advertising it being sold as? And is it still technically a Leonardo da Vinci painting?
That makes me think about I forget the name of the boat, but the story of like this guy with the boat of like when that replaced
yes, that's exactly what they were talking about too. But when you replace a boat, where's the old boat? Because now you're making a new boat.
Yeah,
like the wood and stuff like that, right?
So
it's interesting.
I don't know. I would say it definitely has to be. There needs to be an asterisk to that for sure. Like people need to know that before they buy it. Of like, hey, only like really 10% of this is what's the word? Like still alive or whatever from Da Vinci's painting. But no, that's interesting.
Yeah, imagine like a comic book where the last 30 pages, and it's like 600 pages. That's a long ass comic book. but the last 30 pages have gotten fucked, and it's the only copy, and it's Stan Lee's only copy of this. But they hired the best comic book writer in the world to finish the story because they knew Stan Lee so well. And it's like, is that, let's say 30 pages. Let's say like, if it's 600 pages, let's say 301 pages he wrote for the rest of it, and 299 were Stan Lee's.
I don't know.
That's like
because I feel like writing and like
drawing,
are separate or different.
That's
because
true.
It's like, because I think of this Leonardo da Vinci painting, like you can fill in the blanks, but with a story you need to just go off of that.
That's like your brain, your upcoming.
Like you can't copy like a person's words, or you can't recreate a person's words. Like you can try your best, but it can't be one to one. And I guess you can say that about art, but I guess the way I envision this Da Vinci painting is that they're just literal like holes missing. And it's just kind of like, well, what else could literally be here than like a strand of hair or something?
And I think about the last episode. Check out our last episode because we did this right where we traded off. What was it? We took 10 minutes to write a story.
Was that last episode?
Or two
I think
episodes
it was 2 episodes ago.
We'll check out both of them. Check out all. What episode is this?
This is episode 23.
Oh shit!
You want to know the joke I had for this episode?
Yeah, that's why I brought it up. What's up?
Nobody likes you when you're 23.
Deadass.
And I'm gonna just leave it at that.
It's all downhill from there,
so
bitches.
This is the worst episode.
Oh, it's funny. I was when I was with Jonathan yesterday, right? Shout out to Jonathan. He brought me Little Caesars pizza.
Nice.
Let's give him a moment of silence.
What a good boyfriend.
We passed a bar, and the bar said, "You must be 23 years old or older to come in this establishment."
What the fuck?
Yeah, I didn't know you could do that. What the fuck?
Sounds like bullshit.
Yeah, I wonder if you get ID'd and they're like, "Yeah, man, you're 22. You gotta get the fuck out of here." It's like, what the fuck?
when
newbies.
When we went bowling the other night, fucking Henry showed up without his fucking wallet.
Oh, and AD you were there at the gutter in LIC. Check it out.
And fucking Henry tried to show a picture of his ID to this guy.
People be doing that.
And the guy was like, "Nah." And I was like, "Henry, why were you just without your wallet?" Like,
because I'm badass like that, man. What ended up happening? What did he show?
He went home to get his wallet and came all the way back.
If I was the bouncer, I'd be like, "You're just going."
And by the time he got back, the bouncer was asleep. He was pissed. He was fucking pissed. He just walked in.
That's fucking bad funny, bro. Yeah, I don't know. I barely get ID now, and I'm like, damn, I look old as fuck now. Like I'm not even like, permissible.
It's your swagger.
Oh, you're right. I'm too fucking cool. Like they're like, show me your ID. And I'm like, piss off. And they're like, you know what, bro? You're fucking suave as shit.
They're like, show me your ID, and you're like, I can do that.
Like, all right.
I can absolutely do that. Not my passport.
Oh yeah, man. Shout out to having your ID, bro. I had to travel with my fucking passport for like a year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years.
Ridiculous.
It fucking sucked, bro. You lose your ID, get that shit back, bro. You do not want to lose your passport. You know how much fucking stress, how much fucking, what's it, cortisone? Cortisone is a chemical that produces stress. And,
I wouldn't know.
Man, when you were with Franky,
I told you I'm not good at science, Franky.
Oh yeah, you're just sexist.
No, I'm sexy.
Oh, okay. And on that note, we're at the A.M.C section.
Well, We're back.
We're here. We never left.
I don't know why I always say that.
It's just a force of habit because you know, spiritually, we went away for like 10 seconds.
Yeah, it's just, you know.
One can say we prayed.
Or one could say that we're tapping in our clones.
Oh, yeah, because, you know, we work so hard. Mm-hmm. This is an exhausting project every single time. So our clones got to come in. Cloning is real.
We split up the news and entertainment section with our clones.
Yep. After and then we just put them away in the storage closet where they stay,
and work in the next entertainment section.
And we go live live and stuff like that, and you know, yeah.
But wait, are we the clones?
Wait, hold on, let me. I hope. Let's go ask them audibly because visually.
Okay. All right.
Yo, clones. Yo. Who's the clones?
I'm gonna tell you right now.
Go fuck yourself.
It's the one on the right. What? What does he mean on the right?
No idea. Fuck you, clones.
I don't like this, man.
Yeah, fuck. That's why they're in that closet. Storage space.
Damn.
Fuck those clones, bro. Clones equal slavery.
You know, you're not wrong. You ever seen Living with Yourself with Paul Rudd?
No.
That Netflix show? Pretty good.
Is it new or old?
Kind of new. Like a couple years.
Well, he has a clone of himself?
Mm-hmm.
You ever seen the Black Mirror episode where the lady's husband dies?
Black Mirror episode, lady. Yeah. I don't think so.
Can I spoil it for you? Want me to tell you?
Nah.
Oh, bro, it's fucking crazy. Well, I mean, the basis you can probably already tell what it has to do with peanut butter jelly sandwiches.
Yeah.
No, the basis
and
is
tortas.
and tortas and the mint. No, I suggest watching that shit ASAP. I forget what it's called. I love it how they titled the episodes, but it's so good. It's so like, oh, you know, like it just.
I mean, man, we really got to get on our Patreon shit so we can start watching shows.
That's true, and reading books. I'll do a little solo action. Yo, read a book with me. But I mean, even comic books, man. You've read so much comic books that even on the side shit, you know what I mean? Like, when we do a Patreon, we should do a whole Sandman series.
Oh,
like,
that'd be dope.
Just do one like story each because there's so many fucking stories and shit like that. Love that shit. I just finished, like I told you, the reading, I think book 3 or book 4, one of those.
Okay. Nice.
Bruh, crazy shit. Sandman Neil Gaiman, shout out to that motherfucker. Let's go. But we are in the AMC section today.
We're at the AMC section. We are at the end of our cycle. We are now on comics.
Yes, we are.
And I was hosting this episode. I chose a comic. That's how this works.
Yep.
And this is a comic that I read quite a while ago, and I figured it's time to take a dive back into it and check it out again because it was so much fun to read. And the series finished maybe a couple years ago.
Oh, no way.
And has a really nice ending and stuff.
Cool.
But I also wanted us to have a little bit of fun because we've been looking at a lot of serious stuff and whatever. So I figured let's look at something a little more fun, a little more cheek and tongue, a little more lighthearted.
Hey, I'm still unwinding from Mr. Miracle. That was such a crazy comic. But you know, like just even thinking about it now, I can't wait to like go back and reread it. Like I genuinely can't. Like that had to be like top, I think 3 favorite comic books that I've read. It's just such an intense read, but it's such a heartfelt story, you know, and it's so in and out. It's so like there will be no other like continuation of this. It's just that.
Yeah.
But Mr. Miracle by who was it again?
Tom King and Mitch Gerads.
That was a really, really great read. I would not recommend it if you don't read comic books. Like maybe not a year ago, like months. I don't know when you started. If you had done that for the first one, I'd be like, fuck this podcast. I'm reading the funnies in the newspaper, and that's it. But man, yeah, definitely. So, but this was fucking fun. And what are we talking about today?
This book is super accessible comparatively.
Yeah.
If you haven't read comics before, this is maybe a really good place to start.
Literally.
Because we are looking at Sex Criminals.
Sex Criminals. Volume
1.
Yep.
And it's written by Matt Fraction and art is done by Chip Zdarsky.
Yep.
And I'll tell you real quick to just give a quick little bio on both of them.
Okay.
But Matt Fraction, some stuff he's written before. He's famously written Hawkeye,
crazy,
Iron Man, and Thor.
That's fucking crazy for doing this and then to write those things. You know what I mean?
Well, he actually did these things before he wrote this.
Interesting. So then he just had the liberty to do whatever the fuck he wanted.
That's usually how it goes down for a lot of creators. Like once they get a following after writing main hero titles and stuff, they get a following enough to start writing their own stuff that people would actually read.
That's dope.
But Chip Zdarsky, he started as an artist, and then he became became a writer. One of the first things that one of the first things that I read that he did his work in was Howard the Duck. And I've talked about Howard the Duck to you.
I want to read Howard the Duck so bad.
He did the art to those comics.
Dope.
He also became a writer down the line. And some of the stuff that he's written Spider-Man, Justice League, and he famously writes Daredevil right now.
Wow.
Or I don't know if he still writes it, but he wrote Daredevil. And
it's so dope.
Really good run. Mm-hmm. But those are just quick little bios on the creators because I think they deserve it.
Yeah. Even at the end of it, when I copied the back of it, it just said like, oh, this and that. He's written Hawkeye, and in my head I'm like, holy shit! Like again, the name of this comic, I kept calling it Sex Diaries. It's Sex Criminals.
Yeah.
But it's amazing. Like you put that after Spider-Man, Hawkeye, this and that.
Yeah, and the reason why I didn't want to prop my book up just yet is because I wanted to show you my copy.
Yeah, man, it's super fucking dope.
Because it's the big hardcover version of it, so they call it Big Hard Sex Criminals. And on the back it says for mature readers. Duh. Yeah. And this is what they put at the back of every issue as well. So when I started picking these up in issues, they would say this at the end, and it would have something different every time at the bottom.
Yeah.
So for this, it says it's a graphic novel about a couple who stop time when they orgasm, so they rob banks.
And literally, that is what this whole volume is about. I'm sure the whole story is this compared to this. I mean, the volume's continuation, but yeah, it's that. It's people who, when they orgasm, time stops, and they're like, "Hey, let's rob a bank." But it's why they stop, and it's why they rob a bank that we're gonna discuss.
Yeah. And something I also want to show you, because while this is funny, you might think to yourself, oh, I don't want to read a book that says big hard sex criminals and for mature readers out in public.
Yeah.
Maybe I want to take off the sleeve so that way I can be a little conspicuous. They were one step ahead of you.
No fucking way. Oh man, you gotta show the camera.
They were one step ahead of you, bud.
That's so fucking. Can I see the back? Is the back just whatever?
What I'm showing Frankie right now to the audio listeners, what my book has, we'll probably put this in the supplementary.
Yeah, please, we have to.
But
that's fucking funny.
What my book shows is that it disguises itself as a completely different book called Down Boy.
And there's an innocent picture of a puppy in the middle
with a needle about to get him. And if you notice, their names are messed up purposely.
Okay.
So they're fake names. So instead of Matt Fraction, it's Matt Fraction. And he's the acclaimed author of Heavy Petting, Battling Obesity in Your Pet, and Chad Zerdke, who is the acclaimed author of Pussy Patrol, Wrangling Neighborhood Feral Cats While Getting Mad Laid.
And is this supposed to be representing euthanasia? Like,
Yes. On the top, it says, when is it a good time to euthanize your pet? Is it ever not a good time?
That's fucking funny. It just, I wish they could see what I saw just now, because I'll tell you this. I'll tell you once we got into it. So this book is literally what we talk, like sex. It's all about sex, right? And I was trying to read it in public places everywhere I went. So when I first got my copy, right, literally I was walking Beatrice to work, but on her way is a comic book shop. Shout out to Action City Comics. Listen to the podcast one day, please. I go in. I call ahead though. I always call ahead. I'm like, hey, do you guys have sex diaries? Sex criminals? They're like, yeah, we all do. I walk in. He's like, yeah, they're all down here. Literally all of them are at the bottom shelf. And I'm like, nice. I got volume 1, volume 2. I walked out and I dropped Beatrice off. She's like, what you gonna do? And I was like, I'm probably gonna go to a bar, just read this, because like I like going to a bar and reading comics. It's like definitely a cool little time, right? And then I opened the first page, and literally the first page of the book is just two people straight up fucking
right in the bathroom.
Yeah. And it's not even, it's a splash page. Is that a splash page or no?
Yeah,
that's a splash. I'm learning. It's a splash page of just them fucking right in there, and then somebody's like trying to come at them. But it was like, okay, I don't really care. I actually remember I told you I saw Toy Story at the bar the other day. So my bar reputation is so fucking guy read Playboys and kids movies at the bar.
Cartoon nudies.
Yeah. Just fucking watch hentai at the bar. I'll take a sangria. But that's fucking funny. That would have been a lot helpful.
Yeah, I'm gonna read the back for you as well because it's pretty funny.
Please do.
It says, it's time to admit you made a mistake. Owning a pet is a terrible idea. Sure, little Fido used to be a cutesy wootsy little puppy wuppy, but you're a grown-ass adult human with a grown-ass job. Who has time for all the feeding, watering, physical activity, warm place to sleep, and affection these horrible, stupid house wolves demand? Mm-hmm. And who has a place in their busy lives for all the love and sickeningly sweet loyalty these monsters ooze? Nobody, that's who. And you are one of those nobodies. It's time to take the ultimate step in every pet owner must take: recreational euthanasia. And this book gives you step-by-step information how to do it. Don't be ashamed of your pet killing game. Only Hitler loved dogs, and all cats are assholes.
Hitler did love dogs.
And they have a little section where it says praise for Down Boy with some quotes. One of them says, "I'm free. I'm finally free. And in just 6 months, I saved enough in kibble money to buy a gently used iPhone." This was from T. Dog Whistler, fake name of a popular TV show about animals, maybe. Second quote. "I never knew this little monster would crap and pee in a box in my house for like 15 years. This book was my get out of a house with a box of cat poop and pee box free card, and it can be yours too." By Dr. Phil Collins, associated with neither TV's Dr. Phil or music's Phil Collins.
Kill your dog.
And then they have little bios for themselves as well at the bottom. Dr. Matt Fraption attended Doolittle Veterinarian College, where he majored in pet euthanasia and minored in breaking the news. Since graduating in 2013, Dr. Fraption has successfully put down over 2,000 pets. With a 92% success rate. Yeah. He is renowned public speaker, espousing his views in parks, parking garages, and during public concerts down by the waterfront. Chad Zertke never met an animal he couldn't finish off. Dr. Fraption and Mr. Zertke have been straight married for 17 wonderful years and have one child who's a cat named Kelly Sue Furconic. And just a little fun fact, the Kelly Sue Furconic is a pun because there's another comic writer whose name is Kelly Sue DeConnick.
And that's why they put it in as like that?
Yeah, because they're friends with her.
That's super dope. It's not skipping to the end of the story. It's just the end of the book when I'm reading it. I'm pretty sure I have it in yours, but it shows a picture of their first names are what? Matt and what? Zach?
Chip.
Chip and Zach, right?
Matt and Chip are the first names.
Matt and Chip. And then at the end of it, it's like this, like the cliche picture of like it's him holding him from behind or some shit like that. Yeah. You show the camera. It's like the Step Brothers poster, but it's just them like these guys' sense of humor is out this world. That's so fucking funny, man. I just think like good on them. And I think truly to have this type of humor, you have to just be like human, like, you know. And some people are so restricted. They think the word, like, they think sex is taboo. They think euthanasia. Like, you know, it's just you gotta think freely, and it really shows with this story.
Yeah, they have so much fun with this book, and man, it shows like they enjoy making this. And this happens in a lot of comics, but a lot of the times like comics will have like a sort of after the issue, like a writer will have like a little essay or something, like a little just tidbit thing of like what's going on with the story, like a hello from the writer. And you see that as the story progresses, it doesn't become so much about robbing banks anymore, but it really becomes about the relationship between Susie and Jonathan.
Yes, and even in the beginning, just internally, like I just think it was a very raw, or you know, I like all these sex jokes and stuff like that, but it's very raw, real. I won't get into the story in a bit, but I thought at first, like I kept telling Beatrice, I'm like, this is a perfect, and I know it's written by two men, like written and drawn by two men, but I'm like, this is a good way to like. It really is awesome because it starts off with the woman talking about her sexuality, discovering her sexuality and this and that. And honestly, like to get into it a little, when Susie, she finds out at a young age, you know, how to orgasm and this and that, like how to come to an orgasm. And the reason I bring that up is because it's drawn so beautifully on the pages. Like, what is it, like rainbow, like stripes all over the place. It's like, it becomes such a magical page where it's like, the correlation between those two visuals and the, you know, orgasming itself is fucking awesome. Like, I think it's really well drawn, and this is such a beautifully visual story.
Yeah, I mean, I love Chip Zdarsky's art. It's
amazing.
It's so good. Yeah. I honestly take a lot of inspiration from his art personally because I love the sort of cartoonish look that he brings.
Yeah.
But it's still really detailed.
OD.
And that's kind of what I go for with my art, like a cartoonish but detailed look. So I love his art. He has such an attention to detail, I think.
Yeah.
And the couple times that I've met him, he's always told me, like, you know, teach yourself how to draw.
Yeah.
And
practice.
And that I took that to heart, because I was like, you know what? Yeah, I should just teach myself how to draw, because if he can do it, I can do it.
You ever hear the joke? Somebody gets to a cab in New York City and they're like, "Hey, excuse me, how do you get to Carnegie Hall?"
You've told this one before.
And the cab driver looks back and he's like, practice. And they're like, "Oh, but can you get me there? Because I gotta fucking go."
I'm fucking late, asshole.
I'm here for fucking. I want to see a comedy show. I go to the comedy cellar. No, but it's true. It's very. I mean, with anything, you know what I mean? Like, you know, it's the truth, and you're not gonna get nowhere until you do that shit 10,000 times, and then even then 20,000 times.
Yeah,
you know, but it's awesome.
But to start diving into it, I mean, like you mentioned, which kind of starts off, but
Oh, by the way, the volume 1, you can find online for free. Not volume 1. I'm sorry, issue 1. Sorry.
Okay.
Issue 1, because the volume is a collection of issues. I'm writing that too. If you go on Google Play, or if you just look up Sex Criminals comic book, Google Play will take you, and you can read the first issue for free.
Nice.
So it's super cool, super accessible, and yeah, I mean, it's just kind of them to do that. But yeah,
I don't know if your copy had this little like forward in it.
I think it did. Maybe it did. I can't even read it, so I probably skipped over it, to be honest with you.
It's also just a joke. It says, "It's you, it's all for you. Everything I do, tell you all the time.
I read it.
Heaven is a place on earth with you, Chip." From Matt after El Duray. For my ex-wife Roberta, you made me a better man. Parentheses, divorce. Chip.
That fucking jokesters, bro. That's so fucking funny, man.
But yeah, I mean, to just kind of dive into it, like, again, the premise is about these two characters, Susie and Jonathan. They meet each other, and well, we start off with Susie, because I feel like Susie's more the main character than
her origin story is kind of shown right off the bat.
Yeah, because it breaks the fourth wall with showing little Susie growing up and stuff, and you have older Susie kind of speaking to the camera, speaking to us, the audience, the reader, and it right away we have one of the earliest jokes that we get in the book, where I don't know if you caught it in the background on page 7. There's a poster in the classroom, or actually on page 6.
Kermit the Frog. Reading is sex.
Reading is sexy.
That's dope. Kermit the Frog is the frog, but reading is sexy. Okay.
So that's like one of the first jokes that we get, and
there's a lot of those things in the whole comic
background, just always like that.
Yep.
But we find out that Susie's dad was killed in a bank.
Somebody had just lost everything with the stock market crashing or some shit like that.
Yeah, and he was just like an accountant or something. He just was at the wrong place, wrong time type deal.
And as she's telling it, she's like, "I promise the jokes are coming later on."
Yeah,
which is interesting. But like, it was really depressing intro.
And you kind of get some sort of black comedy where you see her on Halloween, and she goes to get some candy, and she's just not in a costume. And
like, who are you for Halloween, little girl?
And she just says, "I'm the little girl whose dad just died," and she just takes her bag out with a smile.
And she's like, I practically made myself a diabetic that year.
So this whole book is just so cheek and tongue, like it doesn't take anything serious, and it just shows her getting to the bathtub, and finally, as she's in the bathtub laying down, like, I guess the water's hitting her in the right spot, and she orgasms. Yeah. And that's where we get to see, as you mentioned, the sort of lights and the sort of like color spectrum and things like that. Yeah. Because it's such a visual language, I think, to translate, where once you see these swirls coming in and stuff, that's when you know an orgasm has happened and they're in what she calls the quiet. The
quiet. And it kind of reminds me of Mr. Miracle when they go to like outwards of the earth. It's like black pages in the back, but when they're in earth, it's like white pages in the back. And real quick, before she does enter the quiet, aka her orgasm and stuff like that, right, because there's a lot of also like really dark shit in this too. Yeah, you know. And right before she enters the bathtub, she says this. She's like, even though she tried talking about her mom to hide it from me, I could always hear it when mom cried. she said, I had to hide underwater with the water running to get away. And basically saying, like, just to not hear her mother cry downstairs no more over her father's death, that she would put herself in the water to not listen to it anymore. And I mean, that's just heavy. Like that to me is like really heavy, like to escape reality is some people say, well, from what I've heard, that drowning is the most peaceful way to die, to kill yourself. Because
really?
Yeah, I've said the word kill yourself in this episode so many times. It's been all jokes and this and that, or like, this, whatever. But apparently. Yeah.
There was I'm trying to find the panel, but there was a panel that I thought was really good.
Mm-hmm.
I think I'm about to find it right now. It was basically Susie talking about how her mom is a drinker and stuff. And,
I know what you're saying.
And it's like talking about using like a gas mask or whatever, or like when you're on a plane.
Right, I have it right here. She says, yes, I'm actually gonna read the whole thing because it's that shit is heavy too.
What page is that?
I only have it screenshotted. It doesn't really show. This is the earlier. But the panels are just her mom drinking and stuff. And she says, I just started screaming about everything. And mind you, she stops time. So right now her mom is taking a sip of alcohol and time has stopped. And she's breaking the fourth wall, looking at herself, talk to her mother. And then she says, you have the page?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'll just read the first, I'll read this and then you read the gas. So she says to her, referring to her mom, I just started screaming about everything, about her, about me, about her drinking, about dad. In the quiet was the only place I could talk to her for a couple years after this even. I just screamed until everything stopped hurting.
And then you see present day Susie kind of give her mom a kiss on the back of her head.
Mm-hmm.
And the caption reads, you know how they tell you on planes to put your own oxygen mask on first, even before you help your kids? And in that panel, it's sort of angled where the glass looks like an oxygen mask.
Wow, I just got crazy. I never even noticed that. Like me reading it, for me was like just saying like, holy shit. But seeing that visual, that's fucking crazy.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to point out because I thought that was just such a strong image.
I'm getting chills now, man. That's sad. That's so sad. Jesus Christ.
The next caption just says she was trying so hard back then. And it's just, it's definitely a sad story for sure. Like in terms of Susie's origin and stuff. But we still get some funnies pretty early on.
I mean,
for sure.
most of it is funny. It's kind of like that Disney shit, right? Where before they give you the funny stuff, they break your fucking heart like an Up. but that is absolutely beautiful. I would like to get a poster of that. That would be cool as fuck.
Yeah.
That's
pretty much after she orgasms for the first time, she's super freaked out and doesn't know why it happened.
Yeah.
She doesn't know what to do about it. And then it kind of cuts forward to the present day, and it shows that Suze works at a library.
Yep.
And so she's throwing a party to raise money for it.
Because the library is getting foreclosed by the bank.
Yes. And that's when John pulls up to the party, and that's they kind of see each other for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
And that's also when we get introduced to present day Rachel.
Yeah.
Where this girl is a girl that Susie went to try and get sex advice from because she didn't know what happened after she orgasmed the first time.
Yeah.
And I love how the panel to sort of remind you of that it's her is just sort of a zoomed in like
she's like, hey slut.
Yeah, just a cropped in like thing of that panel. But
Rachel has like according to Susie has slept with like everybody she comes across, right?
Yeah.
In present day.
And that like she's just a super slut pretty much.
Yeah.
And it talks about it shows Susie just but Susie just it shows her getting laid by some other dude, and she orgasms, time freezes, and she just feels super sad and lonely because
he stays in the position of like coming basically, and she gets to walk away, and so imagine this, like he's laying down in bed and he's still holding, like he's still a missionary position on top of her, but time stops, so she gets to slip out under and walk away, and she's again feeling this loneliness and sadness, but then he's still laying on the bed like with his face like and she's like, damn, this sucks. But even then I think she says something really interesting. She says She says, I suppose we always have these grand notions about what having sex will finally mean. Grand, romantic, weird. It comes with expectations. I'd hope there was something special about it that I wouldn't be left so goddamn alone. And I was like, damn, bro. I was like, another one. I was like, chill the fuck out. I want to read Batman.
You better start fucking pulling my hair over my eyes.
Facts, bro. But it obviously shows this filling in the gap of you can't compensate for things that take true emotion or even love, if you like to say. I think to each his own when it comes to sex. Do whatever you gotta do and stuff, but you gotta really also just fulfill the needs correctly. You know what I'm trying to say? Like, and it's interesting. I think, but in this case, she's experiencing time freezing, which is fucking crazy. You know. But
yeah, and she decides that she's gonna try and get some help again from Rachel and stuff, and she just goes up and has this. I like this little moment where it has a black panel. It's like Susie versus the Dirty Girls, round 2.
Hey bitches!
No, I love how it says, "Hey bitches," and she's like, "I got something I want to ask you, you sluts."
And they're like, excuse me.
That thing that happens after you touch yourself where everything bleeds colors and all you can hear is that low rumbling sound and everybody's frozen. Like, what's up with that? Skanks.
And they just looking back at her like,
She's just like, oh God, and runs away.
And then it's just like a funny runaway and it's strike one. And then this fucking slut.
But also
in the next panel
on this page, on the top panel, it says book sale and says no comic books.
Oh, no fucking way! That's crazy.
Also, in the page before, she's wearing a shirt that says Growlf.
Okay.
So like,
it's like Alf, but Growlf. That's dope as fuck.
And she's also wearing another shirt that says like East View Dark Elves. I don't know what that could be a pun on.
But it's probably something. It looks like Link.
Kind of.
Like Zelda, you know? But that's awesome, those little things. 'Cause I've noticed a couple of them. My favorite one I'll tell you later. It's pretty funny. But that's awesome.
All right. Then Rachel pulls up to see Susie and she's like, hey, slut. And she asks her to go smoke and she's like, I don't. And she's like, go. And she tells her that she's willing to show her everything she knows about sex and whatever, and starts drawing all these sex positions on like the stall.
And pretty crazy sex positions. Like at first I was like, okay, we're probably gonna see some like real shit right here and stuff like that. But I mean, it's just, we could read some if you want, and then we'll put up the vision.
Swaffling, reverse cowgirl, shrimping, the Dutch microwave, 3-second rule taco, quisping. E.T. the sex movie.
Yeah.
The fleshy light switch. The chocolate McKitten. Queeps. Torging. Autoerotic torging. Brimping. The candle in the wind. The user agreement. And I think that's it.
And I think that's it. Nice.
And she's just like, what the actual fuck?
And if you want to see the visuals of that, either buy the comic books, support some comic books, or you go to the YouTube video and we'll put those all up for you right now. And then she just runs out, right? She just says, fuck that. This is a lot more than I could imagine.
Yeah. And she has a doctor's appointment for a gynecologist. Mm-hmm. And she decides to ask her doctor what's going on. Mm-hmm. And doesn't work out well, and she considers it strike 2.
Yeah, she says, "Doctor, what happens when you have an orgasm for the first time?" I'm asking for a friend, and the doctor's like, "I usually fall asleep." It's interesting.
And she goes home, and she says only one place left to turn.
I really like this page. I really like this page.
And she decides to ask her mom, who's drinking again. Mm-hmm. And she tries to ask her about sex questions, and her mom just responds, great, now I'm raising a whore.
Yeah.
And present day Susie just says strike 3.
Yeah, man. And I like the way they put it, too. Because it's just, that's why when I was, how can I say, when I was reading this book, I was like, this is I don't want to, I feel like I want to say this, but I don't. But what I'm trying to say is like, I think this is a great book for female perspective in terms of sexuality, because I know nothing of that, right? I know nothing of what it's like to be a female growing up, experiencing your first period, experiencing this and that, like, you know, real like sexual questions, or just upcoming, or like dealing with the loss of a father, or like a mom who drinks, you know, this and that. very specific, but in terms of sexuality. So I feel I was referring it to Beatrice. I'm like, you should check this out. And she was like, "Oh, why do you think I want to read that?" I'm like, "Cause who doesn't know about sex?" But I was like, but there's two male writers, so a lot of people will probably be like, "Oh, this depicts nothing of what women feel like when they endure sexuality as they're growing up and stuff like that." But I mean, I think it's very dope, and I wonder how that feels, because I know, like, as men and like families, like, sex is like, "Oh yeah, nice," like from your father or anybody else. But when a woman has sex, and like especially Latino families and this and that, or Hispanic or this and that, it's like, no, like, like, nobody's touching my fucking daughter, and like, you better not, like, what are you, a slut, like this and that, and this and just in America, that's the way we view it as. But then we have people like Amber Rose, who's doing like the slut walk, which I think is pretty funny. I think she's just profiting off that and this and that. I don't think she really cares for that. But it's like, don't call yourself a slut, just call yourself a human being, is what I'm trying to say. Like, like, it's...
I mean, some women take pride in like being sluts.
But that's what I mean, though. Like, a slut... That's exactly what I'm trying to say. Like, take pride in, and again, be a human being, right? Like, what's the difference between a slut and a person who's not a slut?
Just have more sex.
Right? So is that just not being human and enjoying, like, sex? You get me? Like, you like candy?
Nah.
Oh, it's your favorite food, right? Like, are you a fat fuck if you eat your favorite food all the time?
Yeah.
But if you maintain your shape and shit, like, what I'm trying to say? Like, if you don't get STDs, if you're not getting pregnant, abandoning children, like ruining your life, if you're able to do it while functioning fine, you're not a slut. You're just a human being. Same goes if you have like a less amount of sex, but you maintain your happiness and this and that. You know what I'm trying to say?
No, I agree.
It's like, when you overdo it and stuff like that, that you face the consequences of like, real hardcore shit. Like, I'm not saying sluts are supposed to have AIDS and stuff like that. You know what I'm trying to say? But I think there's no need for the word slut or whore or whatever. Those are like, it's like calling a person a witch. It's like, why would you label these people as that? I think it's a trendy thing now to. And I think women like calling each other sluts. Yeah, but they also like calling each other, "Hey, bitch." No, okay.
But that's what I mean.
No,
but
I'm trying to, like, I think, no, "Hey, bitch" is a different thing. Like, it's more like, "Hey, friend," like, whatever. But I think it's, I might be using this word wrong, but it's, what's the word? Something Tory. What's the word? Something Tory. Derogatory.
Derogatory?
There we go. I think it's a derogatory term. I think it's unnecessary. I think it's all for profit. I really do think so. I think it's just as much as treating sex as taboo in USA. I think when we use words like slut and whatever, we're just making it more outlandish than it really is. If that makes any sense. It's like the red light district in Amsterdam and why it's not here.
I mean, I don't know. Again, like I said, some women kind of take pride in being called sluts because some women just don't care that deeply. I almost see it as kind of like the N word or whatever, where it's kind of
it's crazy,
whatever. But like, whoa, like long grass. But you know what I'm getting at, of just kind of like, it's sort of an accepted term in terms of like, as long as you're of that community, you can say it. Or
I don't know. I think you can say whatever the fuck you want. In my opinion, I think that whole debate is weird. So then say
the N-word.
I'll say it right now, bro. Well, for me, it's like, I don't give a fuck what I say, but obviously people are going to get tight as fuck. Obviously we could get taken down for saying those words. A black person can say that word on YouTube and the video gets demonetized. Is that okay?
Really?
Yeah. Black people can't say that word on YouTube and stuff, and you can't say it in general. So that's why it's interesting. And when you said women don't care to be called sluts, you get me? It's like you embrace it, right? Because then, like, if people have been using it against you the whole time, I mean, that's why I understand when people use it. Eazy-E has a perfect interview as to when white people say the N-word and black people say the N-word. When he has a perfect way of saying it, he's like, because when white people use it, they use it to suppress us as a community. Eazy-E is part of the NWA, for the rap group. And he says, but when black people use it, we use it to empower, uplift each other, and this and that. For me, it's the whole America thing, freedom of speech. Like, you can say whatever you want, and not be wise with what you say. I don't use that word because I think it just refers to what we've used to, suppress black people in general. And to continue using it is just, and that's my opinion. But I'm at liberty to say what I want. But when you like with women, it's just like, it's one thing to not care about being called a slut, but it's one thing to label active sexual, like people who are sexually active, as like one as an outlier to another. I just think that it's human to have sex. It's human to have sex, and people just find it odd if you have a lot of it. So therefore you're a slut.
Yeah, I mean, I just don't think there has to be a negative connotation to the word slut.
No, there isn't.
I think there could be a neutral or good connotation to it.
That's what I'm. For me, I don't even find it negative. I just find it like exotic. Like it's exotic to be a slut in the USA. And in my opinion, it should just be like, it should just be normal. It should just be called a person having sex, despite how. And it goes back to like what I'm saying. Like, one thing I want to bring up is we had a poll on the last supplementary. And a lot of people voted like to shut down Pornhub in general, but because they had to do with like aiding trafficking stuff. But a lot of adult and like people will say because they encourage sex workers a lot, is that would like abolish their whole income. You know, like a lot of sex workers make money off things like Pornhub or like all these other sites and stuff, right? So, what way are you benefiting community if you're shutting down their place to work? That's just kind of my like. I just because we never get to talk about sex like in this sense because this is a big open panel for sex and stuff like that, so it's kind of cool. I don't know what you think. Like,
I mean, I think we kind of talked about it when we were on that episode of just kind of. I don't think that shutting Pornhub is the answer. Shutting down Pornhub is the answer, but you know, it's just a sticky situation, pun intended.
And I guess we just went down the beehole, pun intended. It's funny, man. Sex is funny, but it's not.
But let's get back on track.
Yeah, my bad. I love the conversation like this because they're so rare because people are so uncomfortable to have them, you know.
But I will also ask, what time is it?
3:07.
Okay,
nice. So we get to the strike 3 when Susie asks her mother about some sex questions, and her mother's like, "You're a whore now because you want to have sex."
Yeah, and then that's when we have the scene that we mentioned before of like the oxygen mask and stuff, and she's screaming at her in the quiet and whatnot. And then Susie decides that she's gonna start documenting all this and trying to figure it out. Also, I feel like it showed it before, but I can't find it right now. But at least on this page on 27, there's a picture of Sexual Gary.
Oh yeah.
Sexual Gary is a one-shot comic that they released like maybe one volume before the last volume. And they said that there was an issue that they wanted to release since they made this comic. So rereading this, I was like, oh shit, yeah, this shit's been here since the beginning. Sexual Gary.
So before this was released, they had Sexual Gary written and thingy? Oh, what do you mean?
They had this idea they wanted to write this issue about Sexual Gary, and they just never did it up until like the before the final volume.
Oh, so it's on later on and shit like that.
Yeah.
Oh, that's dope as fuck.
So it's just seeing it here in the first volume. It's like, oh wow, they really were like talking about this or wanted to do this for a while.
And how long is this book, like volume wise?
Well, it's just a one shot issue.
No, I'm saying like how many volumes does Sex Criminals have?
Oh,
like 5 or 6.
I don't know how many volumes it has.
6 to 9.
They do name the last issue 69, even though it's not the 69th issue.
That's funny.
I think it ends on like issue like 20, 25, 26, something like that. Yeah, it's got like maybe 3 or 4 volumes, I guess, maybe something like that.
Gotcha.
But yeah, I feel like the story really expands past the first volume, but I think the first volume does a really good job of introducing everything.
Yeah.
But
so she wants to document all her experiences, sexual and experiencing the quiet, which makes time stop.
Yep. And we cut back. This is where we find her love for books in the library and stuff, because she goes to the library to try and get information and whatnot. And then we cut back to the present, and she's at the party.
The librarian recommends to use the Dewey Decimal System, right? Like she's right here, and she's like, "How can I organize? How can I say like this and that?" And she says the Dewey Decimal System.
Yeah, she says taxonomy. You need a taxonomy, like the Dewey Decimal System.
All right, that's just dope. I haven't heard that in a while, but really, if you want to organize some shit, I'm disorganized as fuck. But Dewey Decimal my shit. So she has the party,
and it cuts to the party again, and she's talking to some dude, and she mentions a book about her favorite book, and John comes in and starts quoting that book. And then we have this really nice spread or splash, I mean, of and we have like almost like a little like twinkle effect.
Yeah, where she like he lifts her off her feet almost.
Yeah,
on the top left corner. I really like this part because to me this part is kind of romantic. Like this issue, this book kind of like lacks romanticism, but not in a bad way. Kind of in a way where it's like not cliche. Where it's like, oh, you sweep me off my feet and we're gonna go watch the sunset. Like, now they're just gonna fuck. But then right before they, start fucking like crazy, because they do, he kind of like does lift her off her feet, but verbally. Like, he kind of just keeps talking about, he keeps like, what is it, like referring to phrases in the book of Lolita.
Yeah, he's like quoting the whole thing pretty much.
And she's just following him, and she, she's just looking up at him, lifting up her feet and just paying attention. And she's almost like mesmerized by somebody, because she was there with somebody else originally, right? And then when he found out, and I love the dialogue. The dialogue between both of them is really, really funny. Like, there's one where she asks, is like, well, what are you? And he's like, I'm a secretary. And she's like, you sound very secure in your masculinity. Most guys would say personal assistant. She's like, right. He's like, yeah, I'm a secretary. Yeah. And I like stuff like that, man, because it defies the cliche. And like, a lot of men really act like they have to be like, yeah, bro, like, I'm fucking tough. And it's like, yo, you're a human being. Like, chill the fuck out.
Yeah. I mean, as we definitely see a little later, but John is totally like open of his sexuality.
Yeah. Oh, so. Definitely that. Definitely.
But these two start hitting it off, and you see not only in conversation that they're hitting it off, but visually you see the rest of the room just start to vanish, to disappear.
And it's like only they that are there.
Until it's just them on the couch making out and stuff. And the cuts to Susie's captions and her monologue, just talking about the other guys that she slept with and stuff.
And it's just Polaroids, and it includes a bunch of guys and one girl. And it's just a Polaroid of her past sexual experiences. And the last frame is her doing that like hand frame thing. And John's in the middle. That's pretty clever. Yeah, that's dumb because she hasn't slept with him yet. And all these people in the Polaroids are people she slept with. That's clever as fuck. Wow.
But yeah, they fucking get to it. They start fucking.
Clap cheeks.
They clap super cheeks. And before you know it, they're both in the quiet.
Which is, the page is illuminated, beautiful. Everything looks crazy.
And they're just kind of like, ooh, wow. And like she says, boy, that felt nice. And he just goes, And she kind of freaks out, and they both freak out, and they're like, how are you here? Yeah. And that's how you find out that the both of them have the same ability to enter the quiet when they orgasm. And
even like in the page right here, like she's covering her body with a sheet, but his dick is glowing. and it's no censorship there. It's just his dick. And that's the one thing I could respect about this book, not censored at all.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean?
But they're just kind of stunned, and it kind of cuts further to them having sex from what we saw in the beginning in the bathroom. And they're like, all right, we got this, and it's all just stick to the plan. And they go out of the bathroom with guns.
And then they're like, what's happening?
And that's the first issue. I think the first issue does a great job of introducing everything. It really brings enough curiosity to you, and just really sets a table for everything that's to come.
It's a smooth transition into everything.
Yeah. But I feel like the following issues aren't super eventful towards like the bank heist, because we learn more about the bank heist in the later issues. But what we do see from this point on is more the relationship between John and Susie. Yeah, because in the second issue, we kind of see like the bank heist going on again, and there's this line that gets repeated a lot. This fucking guy.
Oh yeah, and that's Susie saying that, right?
Yeah. But we see that they're gonna about to rob the bank, but these people are outside, and they're like, we're coming in.
These people are they get into it later, but they are the sex time police.
Yes.
Very funny.
And it cuts back to John and Susie, and John is explaining to Susie how he found out that he could do this, and he calls it Cum World. And
it's funny. Oh, so she called it The Quiet, and he calls it Cum World.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
All because of that sex store that was called Cum World and original. But
I like how they have they're looking for porn in a public library, and it says instead of Ask Jeeves, Ask Jeeves, and as Jeeves turned around with his cheeks showing, and he types in boners with boobs. And the next page,
he spells boners BONOR.
And the next frame is the computer all in red, and it's like Shane blocked. Real to it's good. The mic is good. Yeah. Okay. To like, the taboo that surrounds sex and everything, but not that she'll let people in the fucking library search up that, because I seen that shit when I was working at Starbucks in Flushing. Some guy was just watching porn. I was like, hey man,
I also like this poster that's on this page in the back where it says, Chad Billnuts loves reading. It says, quote, the judge said I had to do community service and this counts apparently. The guy just kind of looks like a scumbag.
Yeah. Like,
But we cut to the same Halloween night that where we saw Susie trick-or-treating. And just as we were flipping through the pages right now, I noticed in the first issue when we see the panel of Susie walking home, we see John and her friends
pass by, right?
Yeah.
Oh, she's wearing a green shit, whatever.
Yeah. So even in the first issue, they hinted at it, which is just extremely, extremely well done. Yeah. I think it's just,
and I imagine they're from a small town that like they can pass each other like that, you know?
Yeah. It really just sort of sets that environment, but yeah, we see that they sort of cross paths for a small moment as they're kids. And John and his friends go to the woods and they get jumped by a bunch of bullies. Yeah. And John does everything he can to protect this picture that he finds.
There's a picture of a naked lady under a rock. And he's like, hey, I may get hit by eggs the whole time, but I'm not losing this fucking thing. And it's so weird because when they're throwing eggs at him, they ask him like, hey, man, what's your problem? And like the bully has no real dialogue. He says, eggs is my problem. And it's like, what the fuck? He repeats that like twice, I think so. It's so dumb.
But he gets home and he fucking decides that he's going to try and jerk off to that picture. And he succeeds in doing so. And he enters cum world. Yeah. And his jizz is like frozen in the air and stuff, which is fucking funny.
I really enjoyed this dialogue. He says, I was late compared to my pals. I was in my own little bubble. I felt like I was on fire all the time. I knew what sex was. I knew what masturbation and orgasms were, and that sex or masturbation made orgasms. And then he says, but I'd somehow missed that it was the orgasm part that felt good. I think I thought sex was something like taxes, a thing that grown-ups did. I haven't figured out why I want to do my taxes so goddamn bad. And he says, maybe because we called guys we didn't like jerk-offs, I didn't do it. I didn't realize. It was like I had eggs, milk, sugar, butter, flour, but I had no idea how to turn it on to a cake. And I just really enjoy that dialogue, especially the part where he's like, I just didn't know why I wanted to do my taxes so bad. You know?
It's clever.
Yeah, it's man. I fucking loved it, man. That to me is just so silly and funny, but again, clever and well written.
Yeah, I mean, even as he enters like cum world, he says like, it sounds so stupid to say it out loud. I didn't know that it would feel so good. I thought people had sex because they had sex and not because it felt good somehow. I thought maybe it was the having had sex that people liked. I didn't know it was a physical act of the stuff blasting out of you that was kind of the point. Most of all, I didn't know people wanted to have sex because it meant you got to stop thinking about having sex for a few minutes and that time would stop. And my dick would start glowing.
And then it's like, okay, that's all you, John. But it's and it's so clever, man. I wonder. I don't know. Of course, you can't read it. Show little kids this book. Technically, I wouldn't either. That's creepy. But I wonder how a young person, you know, how they pick up a Playboy or some shit when they're younger. Not that they do that anymore. But if they read this book, I wonder how it would trigger their mind to thinking about sex and stuff. Like
that would be interesting.
You know, but we can't do that. We won't do that. Shit sounds illegal as fuck. Sounds like praying in front of a bunch of kids at a football game. Oh,
all we need to do is just put the book in front of a bunch of kids. Yeah, and we just said we didn't do anything. Yeah,
all we wanted to do was respect sex in our own time. You know, that's all.
They picked it up. They read it. We didn't tell them to do it.
That's what I'm saying, bro.
Can't get a Supreme Court.
It's like wearing a sex shirt or jerking off in your bedroom in private. You know,
same get thing. A Supreme Court. We're one step ahead of you. We're two jerks ahead of you.
Oh yeah, wait, giggity.
God damn it.
Yeah, man. Anyway, they continue to have sex and stuff, and they're in the quiet, and they show Susie's cheeks. And it's pretty dope. What's happening here now? Let's say
John kind of gets stuck because I guess he get out of the cum world, and Susie gets a little upset about that. But she's able to get out of it, and from there they just say like, let's have sex again.
Yeah.
And then they talk about John's origin again, stuff about going to Cum World and stuff. He finally goes upon the store, and so he jerks off in the bank.
Yeah.
And across the street, and goes into Cum World, and just starts taking everything he can.
Yeah, man.
Just so he could jerk off. The VCRs and DVD players didn't work there. I thought that was a nice like sort of lore detail.
Mm-hmm. And there's a bunch of sex toys everywhere. There's a butt hanging from the exit sign.
Like this store has like everything. There's a new pussy sleeping bag. Yeah, that literally looks like a fucking pussy with hair on the top of it and stuff.
69% off all titles. 90% off all titles with the word love in them.
You got sexy magic kit with a butt plug gone bad.
butt plug gone bad, but I'm gonna read. Oh, what does it say right here?
You have half a tit.
I like how the security notice says activities on premises are recorded by video cameras and you will be jerked off to. Cock garden hose.
And it just looks like a dick at the end of it.
Sex bowl. Fuck yourself with an elbow. I mean, just fucking funny shit, bro. And then he's picking up the VHS.
This one says, the DVD says, barely illegal. These ladies are this close to getting American censorship.
That's fucking funny.
And it has a quote, I just want a good life for my family.
Oh my God. And they have a lot of spoof movie titles. And I just seen this one that says Back to the Pooper. But my favorite one, my favorite one was?
What?
Instead of Kill Bill, it was Phil Bill.
I don't remember that one.
It's so related. It's so.
Do you remember the movie Moon?
Moon? No, I don't think so.
They have they recreate the poster and just call it Poon. It's just so fucking funny, man.
And it's all during the quiet. So all these funny things you're seeing illuminated by beautiful like waves of light that are shining, making it seem much more magical, and this and that. And it's very funny.
Yeah, but John talks about how the porn very quickly wasn't enough for him.
Yeah.
And what he really was getting a kick out of while he was in Cum World was getting away with shit.
Yeah.
So he started thrashing places and things like that and just started doing that.
Mm-hmm.
And
on the back of the book it says, what is it? Susie has a gift, John has a problem. I think that's what it is. And then we got to kind of see like, well, we see what's happening.
By the end of the book, it definitely goes into more of John's problems for sure, which is really interesting.
Yeah.
But we see John get introduced to Rachel, and he says, "I'm John. Great party last night," and she's just like, "I'll say." So it just a funny little interaction between them, but we get to see John's origin more and how he falls in love with this one girl, Miss Jasmine Saint Cocaine, a porn star. And
she was the one from the thingy, from the picture.
Uh-huh.
So from the picture he found when he was younger that he first jerked off to, then he finds the porn that she stars in.
And I'll just spoil something.
How dare you?
Her character comes into play
in
later volumes.
How dare you, Javi? I'm not fucking reading volume 2 no more. That's awesome though. That's all. I figured like, she's gonna come in later. She's gonna this and that. Nice.
But and he has this moment where he gets out of Cum World as he's standing in the fucking shop. And they have this fun little page where you see him just run about the store trying to get out and stuff. Mm-hmm. And the caption says, "Cue the Benny Hill music."
Is that the Benny music?
Yeah.
Nice.
And I love this one sign that says, "Sale 2-for-1 testicle shaped dildos." Just ridiculous, man.
Yeah. Like, why not? Like the one place we can, we will.
But I also love the interaction between John and Susie where she says ew and he says what? She goes, "You call it Cum World."
Well, we all can't be fucking poets now, can we? Silly, bro.
She just says like, "Cum World," blah. And he says, "Oh, come on, I was 15." And he's like, "I'm doing the best that I can." And it repeats again, this fucking guy. And it's just the two of them just falling in love and just talking about like how they ended up where they are now at this moment.
It's funny how like with this fucking guy, you can also read it as like this fucking guy. Yeah, it's interesting. But apparently they get into a conversation saying basically how she resembles the porn star he really enjoys like just a little bit, and then she's like, "Oh yeah."
And there is that funny moment when they're looking at the picture of her on the laptop.
Yeah.
And she starts talking from the laptop.
Yeah. So this is like they're saying she has to come from like a shattered family or something like that, or she's been molested.
Yeah, it's like it doesn't say which of her uncles touch her, but it's Wikipedia. They have pretty high verification standards. And like from the laptop, Jasmine St. Cocaine starts talking.
The photo of her.
She says, "Hey, I'm a real person, you know, and just because I'm a sex worker, you don't gotta shame me or insult me or insist I come from a background of molestation and abuse. And even if I did,
she just closes." That's fucking awesome. So it's like the fifth wall break broken. You know what I mean? Because at first Susie's talking, now some random like linked photo is talking from the computer.
And it's definitely like a nice little jab, just like
stop shitting on sex workers. Yeah. You know? Even though they probably do.
Stop shitting on sex workers. Shit on sex workers.
You know what Dirty Sanchez is?
Oh yeah.
You know.
Have you ever been Hitlered?
Have you ever Simbaed?
Nah.
It's fun. Anyway.
That's what sex does to you.
Hey man,
what's on your mind?
Phil. Hey, yeah. That just shit is so funny to me. Anyway, so what is it? We move on. The sex time police. No. Oh yeah. So
yeah, we cut ahead to the bank heist, and they finally get the vault open.
And I like that because it goes from story to in real time. They're going through this bank robbery, but at first it was like just tracing back origin, this and that. But now, like this whole time, a bank robbery is happening while they're in the quiet. But they get stopped by, again, the sex time police.
Yeah, and that's when we get to issue 3, and that's when the sex police get in, and then it just cuts back to the past, and it shows talking about John's first girl, and I like what Susie says. So the girl who punched John's V card was a stage combat major named Kara with a C, rhyming with air and not R. And it's just so dumb.
Yeah.
And it just shows like John's like first time and how like it didn't work out for him. He didn't come on the first time, and that he apparently didn't come on the second time.
Until the third time, right?
Until the third time, I shot so hard I blacked out for a second.
Because she was like, how about your third time? And she's like, oh yeah.
He's like, oh yeah.
Definitely that time.
But then it just kind of goes like, I guess, through John's body count. Like
just like Susie, there's a guy there amongst all the other girls.
Yeah, and Susie's like, whoa, a guy named George.
Yeah, man.
And he's just like, hey, I didn't know. Like, just trying it out, whatever.
These horny fucks. But yeah, bro. Again, the sexuality. This is the whole book. The whole fucking book.
And it just they have this moment of like, should he go home or not?
Yeah.
And or should he stay another night? And it's like it's been like 55 hours. This is like the best like first date and whatever.
And then he says this. He's like, I'm afraid to go home, right? Because if I go home, he said, Susie, I'm worried if I go home,
if I don't go home
tonight, I'm never ever going to home again. And that's like a little like, oh, like a little like, again, cool shit that I like. That's dope.
But yeah, so we see like their next day go on, and John works at the bank. He hates his job and shit.
Clearly.
He goes to the bathroom, wanks out, and fucking takes a shit in his boss's plant.
And they do it so cleverly with the old guy passing him as he's going to the bathroom.
Yeah, I love how you could like because with the panel work, because Chip Zdarsky does such a great job with the panel work. I think where you can tell like the time passing, where it's just from here to here, he jerked off. Like it took him that long to climax.
And the funny thing is that when I was reading this, I wasn't grasping the whole time stopping thing because I was reading my first read. So I'm like, what's happening? So I read summaries after and I put everything together. So I understood it much more. But I'm like, damn, bro, this guy jerked off fucking dumb fast.
Yeah, man. Fucking.
But he
was ready, man.
Splooge your clock. And then you see while time is stopped, he steps out and he does, what does he do?
He takes a shit in his boss's plant.
Yep.
He says, fuck you and fuck this bank, sir.
Yeah,
okay.
Man.
And cuts to Susie, and she's just like waiting on his texts, and she goes to bed, and she's just like, this is the worst. I'm waiting.
Yeah.
And he finally texts, and they start texting back and forth. And they just start talking about how much they miss each other and whatnot, and how excited they are to see each other again. And so they do. and they go to Cum World together.
Yeah.
And I love this little sign while they're in Cum World, where one of them says medium core and the other sign says Obama core, medical / socialist themed.
Politics. That's fucking funny.
But there's another thing here that says Electric Tickle Feathers Shack.
I like how, right, I just seen the staircase upstairs and it says cum, C-U-M, upstairs.
Yeah.
Get it? I think it just says that, get it, and something else at the bottom I can't see.
Yeah, it says get it.
Jizz.
And this fucking dude is just like walking out like
the
all
most
sus and whatever.
The trench coat and everything.
But yeah, they fucking decide they're gonna watch some porn and they
and fucking the video shop.
Yeah, and they do, and while they're in the store, they just start messing around and just start having fun and shit.
Fucking everything up.
And then it cuts to one of my favorite scenes in the whole book, where they're playing pool and Susie's like jam comes on.
And what's the jam again?
It's Fat Bottom Girls by Queen.
Can we read this? Can we read all the yellow? Like let's go one by one. So, but to say they're in the pool place and her song goes on, and then basically the dialogue goes away, and now we're hearing straight from the author.
Yeah, and all the captions are on top of the speech bubbles.
So you can't see what she's singing, but the whole theme of every little panel is her singing her ass off to John in the pool hall. But we're hearing from the author now.
And it's a whole little scene where like the lights and everything, and the caption goes, so here Susie starts singing Fat Bottom Girls by Queen. Legally, though, that was an issue. We tried to get the rights to use the lyrics for the original comic, but just couldn't get it couldn't get it worked out in time. It was okay though. We did this gag with the little post-it notes and the scene still played okay. But for the collection we wanted to try again to get the lyrics because hey, Fat Bottom Girls is kind of the greatest song of all time, right? That was rhetorical. You don't need to answer. We couldn't hear you anyway. This is a book and you are a person. That's not how it works. And Susie starts wearing the Freddie Mercury jacket in this panel. And then we have a little moment with John where it says, in case you were wondering, babe, Fat Bottom Girls is when I knew I loved you.
Oh, nice.
And the captions continue with Matt Fraction. Yeah, anyway, the day we uploaded the book, we heard again there might be a chance, so we tried. But if you're reading this, we clearly either couldn't afford the lyric usage or they weren't made available to us, or their lawyers just couldn't move fast enough. We've almost harassed poor Brian May at this point. Anyway, so Freddie Mercury, huh? Best pipes ever. It would have been fun. Oh well. I always wanted to shoot a real musical number, back when I made videos and stuff. Those captions were the same in the comic. They're still true, but you know, I feel bad for recycling them. Only a little, I mean. I'm not losing sleep about it.
This is the third page we're
I just don't want you to feel ripped off.
Yeah.
Why don't they make musicals anymore? I bet the answer is lawyers.
And it's that so clever. Like, that's such a clever way to... really, my hat's off. And it was one of them. I don't know which one of them, but they had Prince's phone number. Like, you know, Prince.
Oh,
yeah, like in the back of the book and stuff. When I was reading a bit about them, that one of them had Prince's phone number.
I didn't know that.
That's amazing, bro. So you can tell like how musically inclined they are, also to really appreciate the arts. And rest in peace, Prince, and rest in peace, Freddie Mercury. You know what I mean? But yeah, man.
Yeah, it's just such a fun little scene and everything. And like John's just like, wow, and she goes, I know, right? Freddie fucking Mercury.
And she's like, so here's an idea. Oh no, is it butt stuff? That's the next page.
Oh yeah, she gets like obsessive butt stuff.
Like, you trying to have try butt stuff?
She just keeps bringing it up, like we're gonna do some butt stuff. But this is where the book takes a turn more into like the main plot of robbing banks, because this is when John kind of asks her, like, haven't you ever thought about using this power for something else and whatever? And he brings it up and it's like, I mean, we could rob a bank.
Yeah.
We could get that money for the library from robbing banks. And she's super sussed out by it. And the page ends with like the panels just showing their eyes.
Yeah.
Because you could tell there's a lot of focus on that.
A lot of skepticism in her face, and now a lot of like, let's do it in his face. And the one thing I really like about this book's takes on the bank is that it goes much more into it later. But even in this panel, he says, but we just take what you need from the bank and then your library. You just give it right back. You guys are paid off, and we just pretty much committed a victimless crime. Pretty sure the bank is the victim in this scenario, Susie responds. And then, how can I say? Then he says this constantly. Like, this time he says, fuck the bank. this isn't even a drop in their bucket. They spend the library's mortgage on every month on cookies in the lobbies people don't eat. And then they're saying, she's like, how do we rob the bank? And he's like, in the quiet. And then like, even though you saw how I posted later on in the book, Susie says like the banks will eventually take everything in this life or whatever, you know, just in time. And the one last thing I'll say about it is that, I mean, I don't know. I just think the whole point of paying the bank back with what they would, you know,
it's like a Robin Hood type thing.
Pretty much. And obviously he's in the wrong, you know, this and that. But I love speaking about money and like the banks and this and that. Oh, and how say like when the world's going at its worst, the banks is what profits the most.
Yeah, they had something like that where like even in a recession, banks are fine.
Yeah, or they're thriving even type shit.
Because they're the ones telling people to shut down and whatever.
Yeah. It's crazy. But then it finishes off with the sex police. Am I mistaken? Or
yeah,
no?
we cut back to the bank heist and fucking John gets whacked with a dildo.
Yeah.
And fucking this bitch tells him, "You two are in my world now, and my world hurts."
And they're all in the quiet during.
And that's issue 3.
And then we go on to issue 4, Sex Police. And yeah, you know, now we're continuing.
Yeah, and just we're on to issue 4.
Still July 4th.
Yep.
Nothing has changed.
Nothing has changed at all. Not our clothes.
Not the day.
Not our spirit.
Nothing. We're still more patriotic than ever.
We're still patriotic and horny.
And MAGA.
Yes.
The Holy Trinity.
That's why you got the R hat for
oh yeah.
Really MAGA.
And starring horniness.
Yes.
For those who don't know, I have a rock star hat on. I always have the hat on. And yeah.
Don't question it.
Don't question it, man. Anyway, so we're on chapter 4, or issue 4.
Yes.
Sex Police.
And opens up again with the present day heist. And these guys, after getting smacked in the face of a dildo, are confronted with the sex police. And there's this funny little moment like immediately where John's like, "You hit me again, I'll break your fucking jaw." And the guy gets a little freaked out. He's like, He's like, "Nah, man, I'm just fucking with you."
But don't hit me again.
And it's just like, even in moments like that, you can still be so lighthearted.
Yeah, man.
But pretty much this lady tells him like that some order needs to be set for the two of them, and that she thinks they're very clever, but it's about time that they finish up what they're doing.
And these aren't like truly authoritative. Like sex police, they have no position. They're kind of like vigilantes, almost, right?
Yeah, like, and we'll see in a bit, but like they're a collection, like a collective almost.
Hell yeah!
But yeah, fucking Susie tries to go for the dildo, but then actually grabs a guy's wallet and finds out that the dude is a bus driver, and then that's how they find out that like these guys aren't real cops or anything like that.
They're just ordinary people. I mean,
yeah. And so then we cut back to the going-ons of John and Susie and stuff. And they're just talking about
the library, trying to keep it open.
Yep. And they started this is when they actually start using the quiet and come world to mess around a little bit and stuff.
Kind of explore it, kind of see what they can do together.
What they can get away with and whatever. So
they go into the porn shop,
and before they even do that, they have that funny moment of like John's like, I've never had sex outside except for like peeing in the woods when I was a kid. I don't even know if the sun's ever hit my junk. And Susie's just like, I have. It's nice on a nice day. It's nice. And she goes, when it's not nice, there can be bugs. John goes, ew. She says, yeah. And John pauses. I don't even know how we get started. Do we just get started? And Susie just looks at him and just goes down on him.
I'll tell you a story, bro. Out of all my sexual endeavors, right? There was one where, because I think maybe a couple times I have sex outside, like 3, I guess.
Okay.
But there was one time, it was my most recent time, a while back. But like I was just so nervous because it was usually, you do that stuff where you're in private and everything. Mm-hmm. But I was so nervous because it was in like somebody's front yard under a big tree where it was so shadowy, right? So that, without getting too explicit and obviously no details, I just kind of like we making out, blah, 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 just whatever. When the ones got out, I was like, let's get out of here. I was like, we officially did it. But let's get the fuck out of here. Because all I was worried about was some, like, especially we were in Maspeth, Queens, was a lot of white people. So I thought some white guys gonna come out like, who the fuck is in my, even though it's New York City, you can't do that. I was so worried, bro. so it was like Quickie in the most literal sense. She was like, what the fuck?
That's pretty fucking funny.
Just had to share, man. I seen this and I was like, all right. Yeah. Anyway.
But have you had car sex before?
Yeah, man. That shit is tight squeeze. I'm a big motherfucker.
Yeah, it's uncomfortable no matter what.
Yeah, you can't unless you have if you have a van and you empty out the whole space and you make the bed, like those people will have it right. But you exchange one thing, like comfortable sex, for another thing, looking like a pedophile.
Yeah, so, that's true.
Can't intertwine those two things, man. unless your van sits on the side, not a pedophile.
You should just like draw like Josh Duggar on the side of the van or something.
Larry Nassar. Yeah, man. But yeah, if you had a car sex, all power to you.
But yeah, they go into fucking cum world like you said, and they just start wrecking shop. They just make a whole fucking mess and have a whole lot of fun and stuff. And then they start moving things around and they get away with it. And again, Susie comes up with the thing where there's a pause and they're in the car, and then she just goes, "So you want to try some butt stuff?"
Yeah.
And the way John like looks at her too, he's just like, "Yo, man, what is up with this girl?"
Yeah, bro, like, hey, when are you gonna quit it? But maybe.
But then they start planning out like the bank heist and stuff by this point, and Rachel, Susie's roommate, starts getting a little suspicious and stuff, and starts getting a little nervous about what they're doing.
Yeah.
And then this is when we cut to the leader of the sex police.
They call her Venglewood, right? Vengle or something like that?
Keagleface.
I don't know why I said Venglewood. Keagleface. There we go.
But also, it's just so funny on this page on 87 where she's dressed as like the Hamburglar from McDonald's.
Yeah. Is that just there just because? It's just like a little thing?
I honestly think so. I can't think of any other reason why it would be there. So I think it's just random as fuck, but okay.
Fuck it. But Keagleface is part of the sex police who earlier, like when they cut back to the heist, she's like the leader of the sex police, right? But it turns out in her regular life, she's just a soccer mom with her husband and kids, and she's kind of just doing this on her own will to make sure, what we found out later in the issues, that people who have the ability of the quiet and calm world don't take advantage of it, right? Ultimately.
Yeah, and they say like they're a secret paramilitary sex army keeping the world safe from deviants like us. A massive interconnected network of time-freezing sex police out to destroy people like us with uniforms and code names and stuff. And she's like their Bruce Willis. So she shows up to Cum World and she sees that there was a mess and stuff. And that's when she starts getting suspicious of him. And she's like, "Meet me at Denny's."
Yeah.
Which I thought was so random, but okay. But then it just cuts to John and Susie texting a bit and stuff. You see John taking a shit in his boss's plan again.
Once again.
And by the time that wait, what's going on here? Oh, Susie decides that she's gonna do some stuff on her own, right?
So they basically both have their own time in the quiet. And I kind of like this because John, it kind of displays what's happening with the story, right? Because John's using his quiet to like, yeah, I read the second one, so I kind of want to cut into that one a bit, but a little bit. I'll just go into the second volume, right? When he has the opportunity when he's in middle school or school, and he's obsessed with this one girl who he finds sexually attractive, and at one point he like the thought creeps into his mind where he wants to like touch her when he's in the cum world time, and then he was like, the dirtiness of this thought is so disgusting, and it's not who I am, so he was unable to fulfill that. But it seems that even as he's older, coming back to volume 1, that all he's doing during his time of freezing time is like things that are bad, like robbing the bank, pooping in the boss's plant, kind of like revenge things that don't go too far, and justify it through like getting revenge on his boss and saving the library. But then we see here with Susie, like, she's genuinely just trying to, like, you know, see the world differently. Like petting the tiger right here. You know, some cool shit, like some regular stuff to do. And it all goes back to the back of the issue where it says Susie has a secret and John has a problem. And it just becomes more evident and evident, man. And it's almost kind of getting creepy, right?
Yeah, and definitely as you see more in the second volume, like John's problems become more
clear and worse.
Yeah. But
the way I think everything's gonna end, don't hint at it. I think they're all gonna have a big orgy. That's my prediction.
What was that fucking movie?
Sausage Fest Party.
Sausage Party.
There we go. Seth Rogen. Shout out to Seth Rogen. I seen it in the theater.
It's a fucking weird ass movie.
I like how what was it? It was the Jewish people and the fucking Palestine. And what was it, like a falafel?
And something else.
Bagel. That shit was mad funny, bro. Pretty much that though. All right, and
but we do see the one time that Susie does use the quiet to sort of do something vengeful. She uses it to not attack this guy, but set up this guy who basically raped Rachel back in college. What she does is that she puts a bunch of weed in his bag and lights it on fire. And she gets high herself while she's in the quiet, which apparently is really weird. Which is funny. But she falls asleep in the quiet, and by the time she wakes up, like, she's out of the quiet and the bag is on fire with all the weed and stuff. And
he's to blame.
He gets out. But I like the little thing here where Matt Fraction just throws this in at the end. I Googled him last year. He's got a boat and does some sort of competitive fishing bullshit.
Yeah.
So it even still, like, it talks to, like, these little things of, like, people get away with shit like this no matter what.
Do you remember that kid, that guy? I'm actually looking at his name so people can know who he is. But he only got, like, 6 months or, like, barely any real time, and he raped a woman behind a dumpster. You remember that? Oh, man, no. I'm going to show you that real quick because it's very... When I read that, it was just very reminiscent of that story because it's sad. And then the thing is that it was like a white kid, Brock Turner. So he sexually assaulted a woman and he went to Stanford. And I can look at the details. I mean, we could talk about it later also, but he barely got any time for doing that. And I mean, it just happened to be he's a white kid, and in the comic book here, you know, this guy's a white kid who raped Rach, and even regardless of all that, even though there was no accusation of rape here, I mean, you get away with it. That's their privilege. You know, it's kind of saying it without blatantly saying it. And you should look into that story. Anybody that hasn't heard about that story, look up that piece of shit because he's still out there or will be out there very soon.
Supplementary.
Yeah, I got you. That guy's ass.
But then we just kind of cut to John and Susie starting to rob banks. Like, they start robbing small branches and things like that. So they're having sex in public.
Kind of like pornographic Bonnie and Clyde.
Yeah.
with a good cause.
I'm also just realizing this on page 95 while they're having sex. There's a cat, like,
just licking
cleaning itself.
We're all animals.
So random. But things are going well, it seems. And they find out that Kegel Face works at the bank. Yeah. We find out, the audience. And Rachel calls the police, and Kegel Face answers it because she's working the front desk.
But she works at a bank or the precinct?
She works at the precinct.
All right.
So, Kegel Face works at the precinct. Rachel calls the precinct because she's catching on to what John and Susie are doing. She's getting super suspicious. Yeah. And so she calls it in. And Kegel Face is like, "Oh, you don't fucking say." And then it cuts back to the heist and stuff, and Kegel Face is telling them, "You two are under arrest," and they're questioning their authority and stuff, and they get attacked with taser flashlights. Yeah, and they get knocked out, and that's the end of issue 4.
Then we get to issue 5. And they're waking up, and basically everything's happening during the quiet at this moment. And Susie and John are tied up, and ultimately Kegel Face is saying and explaining why they're tied up. I mean, she said, you were intercepted by us in the act of committing numerous crimes. There are rules people like us have to follow, children, beyond laws. And you two, fucking morons. And then she was saying how easy it was to catch them. But Susie's so familiar with the handcuffs because, sex. She's able to find a way out.
Funny and just super clever.
Yeah. And, they're able to get out.
Also, when it shows, like when she's in the handcuffs and stuff, her and John, John's like wearing like Spider-Man like gloves and like boots or something.
Is he?
Yeah.
Let's see. Show me. Oh, this way right here. Yeah. Oh yeah, he is. That's like one of the few like superhero references they have, because they have a couple, but that one's kind of funny.
And he's kind of wearing like a Star Trek like red shirt or something.
What the hell?
But and fucking Susie's like thing says "kiss the cock."
Yeah, instead of "kiss the chef" or some shit like that. One thing with the second issue now, I was reading it. I like that. Who was it? It's Chip Zdarsky and
Matt Fraction.
One of them. I think it was Matt Fraction. He was saying how, while like creating this, they were saying how the things that they discuss in the things that they discuss in the comic book, like none of them should be taken as like things that are so outlandish or weird or just that. They're kind of sexual things that happen regardless in the world. That if you find them weird, it's almost you. And I'm paraphrasing heavily. I have that thing right here actually, and I'll read it at the end actually because it's pretty dope. And I like that because all this stuff may seem strange, even in volume 2, where the guy, I think Richard Rainbow, he walks in on his father, basically bondaged up, and the wife is fucking him in the ass. That was very Pulp Fiction-y, and how when he was having a conversation with his father kept trying to apologize, and the kid was like, "Look, most parents aren't even together, and I'm happy that if this makes you happy, I'm happy." And he didn't believe it himself, but he was like, "That's the most mature shit I ever said in my whole life."
Yeah, I really like that part.
Yeah, man. Everything, it's so sweet, and it's one of those things where, I mean, to each his own. Like, do whatever the fuck you do behind closed doors, as long as it's not hurting anybody, and as long as you lock them doors. And that's volume 2. Coming back to volume 1, and I really like their take, and almost throughout all this immaturity and the jokes, like Phil Bill and all that stuff, there is a base of concrete maturity, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, I mean, I think the way I always sell this book to people is that regardless that it's about sex and things like that, it really is about love.
Yeah,
at the end of the day, it really is about the relationship between John and Susie, and that only becomes more apparent in the later issues near the end of the series and stuff.
I believe it,
where they become more of the focus, more than anything, more than robbing banks or anything like that.
Just about themselves and what they are together. I mean, the underlyings of love is like trust, connection, compatibility, all these things that rise above to love. It's like a pyramid. You don't get the love part at the top without going through all those little levels of everything else, and it's a cool intro, and it definitely develops much more in the volume 2 as from what I've read, and I'm definitely going to finish this fucking series because it's dope. It's super dope.
Yeah. I mean, to sort of finish up the first volume, because this is the last issue of the first volume, right?
Yeah.
They start really going through with it, with the bank heist. I mean, they do a trial run, and while they're in there, they feel like or at least Susie does, she feels like she's being watched, and she is. Keagleface is watching them
the whole time.
And while they're there, fucking John decides to take a shit in the plan again,
and Susie finally walks in, sees it, and she's like, "What the fuck?"
Yeah, and she is seemingly pretty upset about it.
Yeah, and
John has to explain that he has oppositional defiant disorder.
Yeah.
And that he's had it since he was a kid, alongside his ADHD. And I just like how he says, "Bing it, it's a thing, it's a bingable thing. Ask Jeeves to bring you up what? Know what? Fuck it, you're a smart girl. You know what those words mean. It's called comorbidity." And I didn't know what comorbidity meant beforehand.
What is it? Like opposite of like fearing death? Or is it?
No, comorbidity is when you're diagnosed with 2 illnesses.
Oh, okay. Comorbidity. I just thought morbid, dying, and all this.
Yeah.
That. Okay.
So yeah, so it's a pretty literal term, I guess.
Gotcha.
Yeah, just you learn something.
Yeah. There's the vocabulary in a lot of a lot of the panels are really crazy. They're really intense. Like Prurient, I think Prurient. I didn't look it up, but they use a lot of crazy language. That's not too intense, but they kind of like throw them in there, like little bonuses. I don't think that's important.
But yeah, and this is when we really start to see like John's situation where
unveiling himself.
Yeah, where he used to be on medication, but he's not anymore, and he said that he's fine. And Susie's just pretty questionable about it, and John's just telling her, "Listen, let's just get through this, and we'll be fine," and this and that. And John decides to. It cuts to John at the bank, and he goes into the quiet. And he spazzes out in his boss's office. But then instead of smashing up the office, that's when he decided to take a shit in the plant.
Yeah.
And that's how you see that's how that all began and stuff. They even put like a wanted poster for it, which is pretty funny in the office.
It says, "Wanted, the most disgusting human being ever. Somebody in our office has been defecating in the plant of our kind and consider it boss, Mr. Shankworth. Like Mr. Shankworth, the plant has done nothing to deserve such apparent treatment." And then they'll reward anybody that finds the person shitting in the thing. But it's ridiculous. Just get rid of the plant. You know?
But yeah, John explains that when he used to be on the meds, that he wasn't really feeling it and things like that. That it might have kept him on a kneel, but he was never mad, never sad, never really happy, never squirrely, and that was kind of a problem for him to not really be able to feel much.
Yeah.
And then in that moment, that's when Keagleface shows up at the diner,
right beside them.
She's like, "Listen, I'm watching you. Don't fucking do it." And she walks out. They're like, "Hey, yo." And this is when they give her the name Keagleface.
Yeah.
Because Susie goes, "Jesus, I think she was in the bank with us, John. I think she's got Keagleface. I think she's doing Kegels, like right now as we speak. What if she has some kind of crazy, like super muscular, time-stopping vag?" And and wait, where'd she go? And then she just disappears. And then they go to check the thing, and she writes, "Yes, they were Kegels."
I remember in the second volume what she says is that, Keagleface, she has that face like she always has a pen up her cooch. And then she mimics the face, and it's kind of her like like squinting her eyes and pucking her lips. Man, funny. We all know a couple people like that.
But Susie gets really, really scared about the whole situation, and but she still kind of points out that she wants to know why John isn't on his meds, and that if it's really best for him to not be on his meds. And she goes inside and into her apartment, and Rachel's like, "Bitch, I know what you're doing."
Facts.
And she's like, "What? Nah." And she dips. And Rachel calls Keagleface up while Keagleface is making dinner
for her kids and husband.
And fucking just spills the beans pretty much. And then there's this nice little moment where while Susie's working at the library.
Oh, yeah.
And she's just reading about like sort of the illnesses and things like that John has, and trying to educate herself a little bit more. And then some little girl comes in, and she's working on a project, and then she needs help. And Susie decides to help her, and it's that repetition of this fucking kid, while she's just like reading about this book and stuff, which is just nice. And she just decides, okay, no, it's worth it to save the library.
Yeah.
And so she officially confirms to John, "Yeah, let's fucking rob the bank."
Yeah, man.
And
that little girl that came up to her reminded her of herself when she was younger.
Yeah.
Because when she went up to everybody, she's like, "I need answers. And the worst thing you could do to somebody who's looking for answers, especially the youth, is not provide them with it if you're able to. I feel that happens way too much. And sometimes it's awkward. Of course, like an 11-year-old comes up to you, like, "What's sex?" You're like, "Oh my God, like that's awkward as fuck," But, like you always at least want to point them in the right direction if you can't have that conversation. I forget where it was in the States, but they wanted to rename slavery kind of like, what's the word? Like, how would you phrase slavery in a much more kinder whitewashed way? Like involuntary, but like involuntary race restriction, like stuff like that. Stupid. And it's like, what are you doing, bro? Just call it slavery. Call it what it really was. Fucking dumb. Of course, probably some white people probably came up with that shit. And it's sad. And it's just the worst thing you can do is just hide information that people are eventually going to find regardless. I've always felt that way, I think. Just tell them the truth. Truth will set you free type shit. And I mean, I think that is a really sweet scene that happens between her and the little girl.
Yeah. But these two fucking prep. They're getting ready to rob this motherfucking bank.
Oh yeah, bro.
And Kego Face and her little crew, they're already one step ahead of them. Mm. They call the police, and they get into the quiet. And then this is when the bank heist happens, and then it cuts forward to where we are now, finally in the present, finally caught up with the whole story. And they're in the back of the van where they're handcuffed. Susie gets out and goes for the vibrator gun, and they start fighting for it. And she touches a vibrator gun on Kegel Face, and I guess puts her out of the quiet because she freezes, and gets him out of the quiet. So then she just gets John out of the fucking car, and John grabs like their phone or something, or no, Susie grabs the phone. Yeah, and they fucking go. They ran.
And it ends off saying, and so we ran. We ran as far and as fast as we could. Our worlds had just gotten bigger and smaller at the same time. So we ran like a couple of goddamn criminals. And it just ends in, they were talking, I mean, first of all, I love how it ends because you flip the page, you think there's more and more, and you're like, oh, fuck, I gotta get the next, volume and this and that. But there's a word for this after of the comic. So that when the volume's finished, right? What's the word for like what's this fillers right here?
Those are the variant covers.
Variant covers, right? And there. So I wanna they were talking about it because I see I like the so they had in the second volume they had the fake Playboy interview in the back, which apparently Playboy had really good interviews.
Yeah, they used to do like, or I don't know if they still do, but they used to write good shit.
Yeah, like apparently. And that I didn't know. I just found that shit about that yesterday. Oh, back matter. It's called back matter. Like the whole intercollection of the back, they have it here. And they talk about like what their favorite ones are, and in such a way where they know comics because they're like, oh, issue 1 of da 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 da. But right here, I wanted to read this because I think it's really really important, and I think like talking about sex again, I've always felt that it's always taboo wherever you go. And I hope eventually in the future it dies down and it becomes like normal. I think we are going towards that direction, especially with less censorship and more points of views and stuff like that. But let me see if I can find it right here. Hold on, say some shit, Javi.
I mean, all I gotta say is that I would love to really get into the sex tips and things like that they write at the end of this, because those are so fucking funny.
I got you right now. I'm gonna read a little bit of what he said here. He says, continuing on, referring to Satellite Sam. You ever heard about that?
I don't think so.
It's a comic that Matt Fraction refers to. But he says, anyway, I don't understand why more comics don't address sex, like at all. I don't understand movies or books that don't address it either. I don't think I'm a particular horn dog or particularly sexually overactive or anything like that. But it's a thing I like, and it's pretty important in the scheme of things that keep things happy and humming along. I suspect a lot of people feel like that in their lives. Why don't our stories reflect that more? I know this is supposed to be a funny, dumb thing where we pretend we're being interviewed by Playboy or whatever, and I'm subtly getting all real and stuff. But I guess if we was to get all real and stuff, and honestly, Pomo, the thing about sex criminals that I'm proudest of, it's how the sex we portray is the least purient thing in the book. Like, it's not the sex that's arousing here. It's not the sex that's dirty. What if anything is arousing is I hope two people so into trying to keep each other aroused. I like that our book is about people that like to have sex. And that's dope. Like, very well said, and I know like they joke around a lot. Like these guys are clowns. But like separate that just a little and it gets a little real.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's up to you if you want to dive into the second volume like how we did with the first one, or we can just sort of like skim over it, or
we could do it on a different episode. That would be kind of cool too. And we can even do volume 2 and volume 3. Because I would this could be one of the first comics we finished completely.
Okay.
Yeah, man. Like that would be kind of cool, like a part 2 type shit.
I mean, Sex Criminals, it's a great read.
Hell yeah, man.
It says a lot, and it does a lot. It can be maybe a little confusing at times if you're not like really caught up with the dialogue because the dialogue is really sharp and clever.
And these variant covers are fucking beautiful, man.
Yeah.
Like, I know you can't see it in the audio, but if you just look up variant cover Sex Criminals Volume 1, it's astounding. We can go into the sex tips though, because those shits are hilarious.
Oh yeah, I do like this one variant cover of like the Queens of the Stone Age type thing.
So good, so good. And I remember the first time I seen the variant covers was I'm pretty sure, I don't know if Court of Owls had it, but it did. But it did. But Mr. Miracle stood out the most. That shit was crazy because that shit got a little deep with the, you know, they all do. They all have kind of the explanation of the comic within the cover, like the art.
Yeah.
But this one kind of stepped it up a level because, I mean, it's such a dope story that you have so much to do with. And
my copy also has a little thing where they call making sausage.
Okay.
Where it's a little the process of that Chip Zdarsky used to draw the comic.
Okay.
And Chip Zdarsky uses a lot of reference. He said,
I have it right here.
Oh, nice. He uses reference photos. So he doesn't necessarily draw like straight from his imagination.
Mm-hmm.
He draws like he'll take pictures of like two of his friends that are models.
Oh wow!
And take these pictures and then draw from reference pretty much.
Kind of like this. Or the other one. So I know you can't see what we're showing, but watch the YouTube video. YouTube Earth Not Matter.
He says here in the pencil section, I have an evening where I shoot as much reference as possible with my two main models, Tiffy and Alex. We drink and eat and laugh and simulate lovemaking. Sometimes I just rely on my own stunning body as evidence below for this panel. So if you see...
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so if you see like on
the bottom left, there's a picture of him, right?
Yeah, that's him. And then if you look at the final product, the two guys are like in those positions. So that's what it means to draw from reference.
No, I know exactly what you... And supplementary, if you want to see what we're talking about, YouTube, or we'll put it in the supplementary because that's pretty dope. I don't know if people did that.
Yeah, so it can sometimes be shunned upon to draw from reference because some people think that like you're not using any actual skill or anything like that because you're just kind of copying, I guess. But there are plenty of artists that do it. Alex Ross is an amazing artist, a comic artist that draws from reference. And he has some of the best art is one of the best artists in comic history.
What has he done art for?
He does cover art primarily, but he's done some series before. He's done Kingdom Come by Mark Waid, which is like his most notable one. But he does mostly cover art for a bunch of series and stuff like that. Like his arts are like fucking posters, man. They're
I gotta check
beautiful.
That shit out.
Alex Ross.
I'll check that shit out.
Yeah, I really enjoyed reading this little making sausage section.
I mean, it's good info. It's good info and it's raw info. And they also do, I mean, they provide a lot of information. Like the volume 1 has what you just said right there. They also have like a lot of interviews amongst themselves and all that. And I mean, it's just, I mean, this whole thing is so like just, I would never pick this book up if I was just looking because once I open to the first page and see them fucking, I'm like, what is this? Like, and not in a bad way. Just I'm like, what is this story even gonna be about?
Oh, okay. Here we go.
Yeah, here we go. But then you dive deep into a story that's actually really in depth and it blankets it with just like some very relatable stuff in the world, you know, especially when it comes to sexuality. And it's the only book that does that. I think every other comic book we've read has this theme of, you know, learning about what you want to do in terms of justice or like self-identity or this and that. But this one is unique in the sense that it really dives deep into one subject that no other comic dares to dive deep into, you know, and that's awesome. I remember like we talked about the Batman issue where the most sexual thing about the Batman issue was the penis outline of Batman.
Yeah, and Batman Damned.
And people got upset about that and they changed the whole thing about it and this and that. Try changing this comic. And then all you're going to have is black pages for like some of them. And it's good that, I mean, it's obviously something that it says mature on the back and it says don't sell to kids, duh. For mature readers, duh. But it's important, man. Things like this are important.
Yeah. And, I mean, yeah, man, let's just dive into some sex tips. Let's fucking do it.
So, and by the way, in volume 2, they have panels where she's visiting the gynecologist and he's explaining to her the different types of birth control she can have.
And it's like from Planned Parenthood and everything.
So the dialogue in the panels is between the gynecologist and Susie. But at the bottom, every piece of information he gave to her is accurate and true. and it's even a reference to that, and I think that's really cool, man.
Yeah,
it's really dope, and it's important too because I mean you never know when you can stumble on information that's useful, especially in today with the whole Roe versus Wade thing and all that stuff. I wonder if they ever cover it in the future. I don't know, like in the comics. I don't know.
I can't remember. I don't think so.
But I'm gonna start out with a sex tip. We just pick different ones.
Okay, well, let me read the opening for it.
Oh, okay.
Because again, the audience members might be a little confused.
Oh,
right
yeah.
now. They'd be like, sex tips, what the fuck?
Yeah.
So
Or it might matter, not really.
So each and every issue, Matt and Chip dole out helpful sex tips. So many that they managed to fill a whole new book with them called Just the Tips, featuring the ISBN number, blah, 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 blah. Here are the ones from issues 6 to 10. But be careful. Don't try these at home. Try them at someone else's home.
And I got one right here because it says, for God's sake, eating ass is not literal. What are you doing, Sandra? All right, here you go.
Remember, slow and steady wins the race. And it is a race. Never forget that if you want to be a winner.
Let's see. I'm gonna pick one at random. It says, denying your partner's satisfaction can be a real turn on for both of you. Blindfold your partner, tease them with light touches, and then move to a new city.
BDSM stands for Bondage Discipline Spider-Man.
Milk, lemonade, round the corner, won't get pregnant.
Have sex while standing up. Parentheses, for the rights of gays and lesbians to marry their partners.
I like this one a lot. It says, if she doesn't want to go down on you, try improving the taste of your semen by eating watermelon, celery, her pussy.
Communication is key, so you should probably learn sign language since that ball gag practically lives in your mouth.
Having sex in new locations can be exciting, like when Neil Armstrong fucked the moon.
Control Alt Delete your sexual shame away by practice fucking the holes on old 5.25 inch floppy disks.
Jesus Christ. Fucking feet are extremely sexy and should be paid attention to in bed. Oh, also, did you know Quentin Tarantino is also a foot fetishist? Wait, where are you?
Remember this simple mnemonic. Feeling kinky? Stick in a pinky. Feeling romantic? Grab your cock and punch it as hard as you can.
Crossing your fingers has a 0% birth control effectiveness rate, but I don't know. Maybe this time.
Fellas, want to drive her wild? Then learn how to fold a goddamn bath towel. Jerry, Jesus, fuck.
I'm reading this one. It says, blow her mind in bed tonight. Reveal your matching skull tattoo to that of Warhol actor Joe Spencer that appeared in Back on Black on the cover of original pressings of the Velvet Underground's White Heat. I mean, you've been married for 14 years. It's time.
Do not refer to your partner's penis as, interesting. Sexual Gary Jr., Tickle Stick, Mr. Nuisance, The Crying Noodle, Stink Peen, Adorable, Wubby Nubby, Is It In, Discount Hot Dog, Non-Detachable Dildo, Non-Vibrating Dildo, Dildo that suddenly becomes soft, Cute little thing. Ha ha ha.
I like how they write ha ha ha. All right. This is the last one over here. It says, a fun, sexy tattoo for guys would be to make it look like your penis is a strap-on.
Yeah, man. They had these at the end of every issue. It's fucking hilarious, man.
I think, man, they're so clever, so fun, and just I think so important to comic books, man. And I'm happy that before I read any of their stuff in terms of like, action comic books and this and that, they both have different ventures in both things, right? In both, but this is just such a fun comic book to read, man. I last night when I was doing all the stuff on my computer, I couldn't stop reading. Like I had to force myself to stop reading so I could work on some other shit. But when I have time today, I'm gonna stop by, pick up the next volume, and just fucking keep reading them.
Nice.
And as for the YouTube video, like Javi has a hilarious fucking cover. Let's show the camera real quick. It's like this is 1 and this is 2, but these are. Mine
is a collection of both volumes.
Yeah, man. But they're awesome. They're awesome books, and thank you for showing me this shit, bro.
You got it, my guy.
And yeah,
that's what I do. I'm like a comic guru.
Seriously, bro. I always think you're gonna show me some like Flash, Superman, this and that, and you're like sex criminals. I'm like, let's fucking do it. Let's fucking do it.
Like I feel like I surprised you with every comic
every
so far.
single time, man. I swear. Like the most there's One Piece, it's a manga. But I'm gonna try to look for some other shit. I'm gonna try to do some, real, how to do a record. What's it called?
Record binning.
There we go. Some shit like that. I'm gonna try to do that with the comic books. See if I can. I doubt I'm gonna surprise you, but watch.
Okay.
There's a lot of comic books.
No, I mean, you've surprised me. American Splendor.
American Splendor was dope. That was probably
Splendor was a good one.
That was probably my best one in terms of comic book. And the movie too. Check that shit out. That's a good fucking movie.
What other comics have we read? We've read Batman.
Batman Court of Owls, which is awesome. That was, I think, the first one we did, no?
I think so.
We did Mr. Miracle, which is a great one. Sex Criminals Now, One Piece. What else have we covered? Sandman, of course. Sandman. That we shot in a comic book store, which was fucking awesome. Shout out to Neil Gaiman. I'm still reading them shits. And what else? I think that might be it, if I'm not mistaken.
I feel like we're missing like one more.
Right?
Fuck.
I'm so sorry to that.
The audience is just like screaming at us.
Oh, idiot! I'm dying to do Superman. I just don't know which Supermans to do.
I have a Superman comic in mind.
Yeah.
So I almost brought it up for this episode, but
yeah,
I'll probably pick it for my next comic episode.
Because something about it is it's so OG. It's so really throwback. And I remember you were reading your short, like, what would you call it, essay or story, when you were saying how Superman was invented during, like, was it the Holocaust or some shit? Not the Holocaust, like when
World War II and stuff. Yeah.
So yeah, and how like a Jewish person created Superman, right? That's crazy. Like stuff like that I never knew, but it's important. Stuff like that is important because when you really think about what Superman is, like you would wish somebody like Superman could come down and destroy Hitler. That shit is crazy. Almost kind of like, I mean, heart wrenching.
That's why there's that super iconic cover from Marvel where Captain America is punching Hitler. Because that shit, like, kids saw that and they were like, yes.
Motherfucker. L'chaim. Because I imagine they were Jewish. Whatever that means. L'chaim. But yeah, man.
But before we head out, check out the social.
Oh yeah, check out the social.
Check out the YouTube.
Earth Might Matter Pod on Instagram. Earth Might Matter Pod on TikTok.
Yeah.
On YouTube, it's just Earth Mind Matter, no spaces. And yeah, I mean, just check out this. Keep listening to this. Let us follow us on that stuff.
Feel free to send us recommendations and things like that.
There are way more things we need to cover: albums, movies, comics, and articles.
And if you want a sticker, let me know.
If you want a sticker, let us know. But maybe one day we'll open up a little shop. Shop stickers, sweaters, shirts, B-hole merch, but not our B-holes.
I mean, I didn't have that in mind, but
Sex Criminals, man.
Yeah, what's on your mind, Frankie?
Volume 3. But yeah, man. So what do we do today, Javi?
Talk about what's going on in the earth.
What's in our minds.
And this is why it mattered.
This was Earth, Mind, and Matter. Good morning, good evening, good night.
Boom, boom.
Wow.